40 degrees out or the fact that we're in between nor'easters. It is, in fact, baseball season in Boston. Good afternoon from Columbia Point. My name is Alex Barth, joined by Seth Orensky as UMass Boston Beacons play host to the Brandeis Judges for 9 innings today on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Hello, Seth.
How's it going, Alex?
A lot better in here than it is out there, I think. I can see the nets blowing, flags are straight out, but we still got baseball, so it's all good, right?
Yeah, it's 75 degrees in the press box, and despite the little crack of wind that we're getting right in our faces, outside of that, there are very few complaints you're going to get from us working here in the booth. Not so sure about our camera operators.
The wind will play a factor throughout the game. We'll talk about that as the game goes on. UMass Boston comes in at 1-0. They beat LaSalle College right here on this field 20-1. That's a heck of a number. They are ranked 3rd or 5th in the nation, depends who you ask. They are out of the Little East Conference. Brandeis is coming in out of the UAA. This is their first game of the season. Take a look at the lineups for UMass. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. There we go. Let's take a look at the all-time series, what we should look at. Thank you, Seth, between these two schools. And Brandeis has had good success at Moden Park. They've yet to lose in this ballpark.
Against UMass Boston.
Against UMass Boston, that is. And they have beaten the Beacons in every matchup dating back to 2006. You have to go back 12 years for the last UMass Boston win.
Well, Brandeis has had a little bit of troubles the last couple of seasons, but they used to be a powerhouse here in New England. A lot of really successful players. Nelson Figueroa, a longtime right-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball, actually graduated from Brandeis back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I know he was with the Phillies, the Mets, the Rockies throughout his career. So they have had some success, but recently it's been a little bit of turmoil, and they actually turned to their new coach a couple of years ago to replace an all-time great at Brandeis University. So he's trying to build a new powerhouse over in Waltham, Mass.
That is head coach Derek Carlson in his 3rd season at the helm of the Beacons for the 14th year. Brendan Eigebrodt will be making the decisions in UMass Boston dugout. Since still the beginning of the season, getting familiar with the team, here's 4 things you should know going into this one. And that is that Brandeis is the only undefeated team versus UMass Boston Moden. Everybody who's come here has lost against the Beacons except for Brandeis. UMass Boston set a program record for runs in an opener with the 20. Again, very large number they put up at LaSalle. That's a lot of crooked numbers. Judges played 7 games here at Moden Park last year. They're 1-6. So overall, they've struggled here, especially against the Beacons.
Well, especially against their UAA competition. We were talking about it off air. Brandeis plays teams from all across the country. You're talking about Emory down in Atlanta, the University of Chicago, schools in New York, in upstate New York, University of Rochester, NYU, even schools out in Pittsburgh. So last season, they played a couple of their conference home games here because of inclement weather in the Boston area, knowing they needed to get those games in because they couldn't reschedule flights from all over the country. Actually played 4 games against Emory and lost all 4, and then lost a doubleheader to Rochester as well. So got the win to start the season, not so successful after that.
We'll see how they start off their campaign again. It is their opener. They're going with a very young lineup, Seth. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores.
7 freshmen in the starting lineup today. They do have a senior righty on the mound who had a lot of success against UMass Boston season ago. You look at this roster, and we talked about sort of building a new program. 29 freshmen and sophomores combined on a roster of just about 34 or 35. So this is a very big youth movement. 7 freshmen in the starting lineup, just 2 returners. It's going to be interesting to see what this Brandeis team does. And really, it could go 2 ways, in my opinion. You either have a team that's a little bit scared of seeing a nationally ranked team that had so much success the other day, or it could end up being that they don't know any better and that they come out loose. It'll be interesting to see, especially early on as they face a Beacons Junior who's had a lot of success throughout his career for UMass Boston.
And that Beacons Junior is Fernando Burgos, is the starting pitcher, the 2016 Little East Rookie of the Year. Before we get to him, though, let's touch on Chris Fowler. Beacons bringing experience. They bring in big bats. Fowler at the heart of all of it.
Fowler is the biggest name in the Beacons lineup, a preseason All-American after being named an honorable mention All-American a season ago. You see those numbers, 48 RBI, 108 total bases, both in the top 50 in the country. He's also a very patient hitter, a guy who's willing to take the walks, led the Beacons in the conference last season, I think with 35 of them. Had a nice successful day the other day, a couple hits, an extra base hit. He's a lefty who's willing to take the ball the opposite way, played a little bit of wall ball in the win over LaSalle. Certainly can hit one over the monster, although today with the wind blowing in for the most part, probably not going to see a ton of home runs, but a guy who's really seen a lot of success over the past year plus after struggling his freshman season at Wheaton and even his first season with UMass Boston as a sophomore.
And you see the numbers, 53 RBIs in just 50 games. Now on to Burgos, the lineup he will face. Leading things off for Brandeis is Scott Ziegler, the second baseman, followed by Mike Corey at third. Victor Oppenheimer is the shortstop. Darren Bates, the designated hitter, hits cleanup. Isaac Fossis is the first baseman. He hits fifth. Dan Frazen, center field, batting sixth. Dan O'Leary is in right. He bats seventh. Luke Hall, the catcher, is behind the plate. And Alex Parrott is in left field and batting ninth. That is how they line up against Burgos, making his first start of the season. Was 5-2 last year with a 4.08 ERA. 12 games he appeared and started 10 of them, 57.1 innings. Strikeout guy, 47 strikeouts in those 57 innings. And Seth, how did Beacons line up defensively behind him?
Yeah, let's take a look at the Beacons lineup. Not a lot of changes from the other day, only the one, and that's Joey Rogers moving from the mound out to center field, a guy who's going to be a do-everything guy for this UMass Boston team, the sophomore out of Titan, Mass. Nick Herzog, one of the few guys without a hit the other night. He's out there in left, one of the Beacons captains. Wanderson Pinales hit that inside-the-park home run. Late in the game, he's in right. Beacons infield, just a bunch of mashers. Kyle Boudris, what a very strong day against LaSalle. Charlie Hughey, the shortstop, had a triple in that win. Dave Murphy had 4 RBI in the opener. He moves from shortstop to second here as a senior after missing most of last season with a sports hernia injury. Chris Fowler, already talked about him. Behind the plate, Ryan McCormick gets his second consecutive start, looking to hold on to that starting job for the sophomore out of Rhode Island, and Fernando Burgos will talk a little bit more about him when he starts warming up. This is a very experienced Beacons team. Every single guy on this group saw some starting time a year ago. Almost every single one of these players is actually an upperclassman. McCormick and Rogers the lone exceptions. This is a Beacons team that made it to the College World Series a year ago, and anything else is going to be a little bit of a disappointment here in 2018.
Trying to get off on the right foot, get to 2-0 here today. We'll step aside real quick. We'll be back with National Anthem and first pitch. You're watching UMass Boston Baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Cheer for the stumbles, the he shoulda had that's, and the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Welcome back to Monin Park. Alex Barth along with Seth Orensky getting ready for the Beacons and the Judges. A little bit of early March baseball here, and coaches at the dish right now speaking with the umpires. Again, the umpires, Stephen Williams at the plate. Mike Collier will take care of things on the bases. And Seth, early March baseball, college baseball in New England really as a whole, you see less and less schools sponsoring the sport because it can be tough to get it in when the weather is the way it is. But the turf field here at UMass Boston not only has helped the Beacons, but really all the teams in the region. Talked about the Judges coming to play here, a few teams coming to be here. Monin Park really is helping out and college baseball in the Northeast, or at least the greater Boston area.
And it's not just Monin Park. You see the Northborough complex being available to a lot of Division III schools. There's a couple games going on tomorrow for schools that don't have their own turf complexes. For UMass Boston, it's phenomenal. UMass Boston's 32-9 here at home over the past 2 years plus. I mean, that's a ridiculously good winning percentage, and a big part of that is the Beacons have a home field advantage. UMass Boston knows how to play this field. UMass Boston knows the wind that you have to deal with at this field. That's going to be the big question for me for Brandeis. How do you deal with the wind whipping all over the place, coming straight off the water right behind us? It's not an easy place to play because of all those different elements, and it's a big reason why UMass Boston has not only made it to back-to-back NCAA tournaments, but has won close to 70 games over the past 2 seasons.
Well, you talk about that 32-9 number. That's 41 home games, if I'm doing the math correctly in my head. There's some kids in their entire collegiate career don't play 41 home games. The Beacons have done it in just 2 years.
The Beacons in the previous 4 seasons did not play 41 home games. They probably played about 38, 39. Now the Beacons did have a chance to host the Little East Conference tournament, which helped out. But UMass Boston is a place that kids want to play. You do see it less and less. The awe factor of Monin Park is wearing off a little bit because you're seeing these teams come in for a third or a fourth time, but especially the first 2 years, every time a new team came in, the phones would come out instantly, taking pictures for Instagram, taking pictures for Snapchat. It's a mini Fenway Park, with the exception of left field and the lack of 37,000 seats. It's the same exact dimensions. You don't see many places that have as much of a historic feel as you do here at Monin Park at the Division III level.
Well, when you factor in the buildings out in center field, maybe 37,000. We'll pause the national anthem first pitch after this.
UMass Boston was my first choice because when I came to the campus, I saw that there was a lot of diversity. There's a lot of people. Here there's a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world. I'm Julia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
I'm Olivia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
We're sisters.
We're sisters.
I play volleyball and she plays basketball. Here they have a freshman success community. So each major has their own community that you can join as a freshman, and you take classes with them, you do study groups with them. So it was really helpful getting to know people in your major right away.
So in health exercise sciences, we have an internship at the end, where it's so much better to have like an advisor helping you out, like telling you which class to do.
The starting pitcher for UMass Boston is Fernando Burgos. The junior, see his numbers there from last season, 5-2 with a 4.08 ERA. And Seth, what can we expect for the repertoire?
Well, Burgos is a guy who fields his position extremely well. The Boston native actually came in as a shortstop slash pitcher. he's a guy who's not going to overpower you. He's really going to work the corners, has very good breaking stuff, a lot of movement. And when Burgos is pitching well, he pitches quickly. He's a guy who really pushes the pace in games. You see him get through 6 or 7 innings in just about 2 hours. So Burgos, the big question is, how does he deal with the cold? He's a guy who throughout his career has actually pitched better when it's warm out, which a lot of guys enjoy the grip a little bit more. He pitched really well last year in the NCAA tournament, ended up pitching the 3rd game at the College World Series where he didn't get the decision, but he kept the Beacons in the game in an eventual loss to North Central College. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he does today. We saw Joey Rogers on a much nicer day get through 5. I think the expectation today is maybe 3 or 4. Just make sure that he's not overworking himself. Joey Rogers was on a 75 pitch count. I think you're going to see more of the same for Burgos, with the expectation that he'll probably pitch again later this week, as the Beacons will play not only today and tomorrow, but also start their Florida trip with a game on Friday, a game on Saturday, and 2 more on Sunday.
It is 44 degrees at first pitch. Winds registering at 20 miles an hour. I would take the over on that. Blowing in from over the right field wall, so coming right in at the Judges' dugout. Expected to stay cold, stay windy throughout the game. UMass Boston is in the white jerseys with the blue tequila sunrise pattern. Judges in their road grays. Scott Ziegler, second baseman, will lead things off for the Judges. Going to be their first batter of the season. Ziegler, a freshman, as many of these hitters in the lineup for the Judges are, so we may not have numbers on everybody. And he takes the first pitch for a strike.
Well, Ziegler's out of Avon Old Farms, a prep school down in Connecticut that's best known for its hockey. They're a hockey powerhouse. Interesting to see what he's capable of at the top of the lineup.
Takes the second pitch for a ball, goes to 1-1. And just now the Judges' first base coach comes out.
Hey, you know, it's an early season game. Last year, Brandeis actually had played about 5 or 6 games down in Florida before they came back to Boston and played in early March. So they're a little bit behind their normal schedule.
Outside for a ball, 2-1.
This is a good, patient approach from Scott Ziegler, recognizing how good the Beacons were the other day. They're really going to try to put at least 1 run on the board early to sort of settle some of those nerves.
Count goes to 3-1. Burgos got to throw him a strike now. Last season, kept that walk number down. 47 strikeouts, 29 walks. Grounded right back to Burgos, hits him in the foot, has to track it down up the first base side. Underhand flip to Fowler, and that's 1 down.
Beacons aren't even going to check on Burgos there. It didn't hit him very hard off the inside of the foot, and that's the good defense that we're expecting, as Burgos just takes a look at the inside of that right cleat.
So here's Mike Corey, another freshman from East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Left-handed hitter, third baseman. He takes the first pitch for a strike.
And that's such a good pitch. He's not going to overpower you with his velocity, but that's right on the corner. Corey was thinking probably a first pitch fastball taken all the way.
Misses again, so in the first batter, Burgos got the first strike, then threw balls till he eventually got Ziegler to ground out. Starts off with a strike and a ball again. The 1-1. That one missed low and inside. So you see that confidence on the first pitch, and then wears down a little bit as Charlie Hughey loses his hat to the wind, has to track that down.
Well, I think a big thing this year for UMass Boston is having confidence in whoever's behind the plate. Anthony Searles, who was the Beacon starter for each of Burgos' first 2 years, sitting to our right. I mean, that's confidence in the guy behind the plate. It's the same pitch caller in Daniel Gamble, but there's certainly going to be a little bit of time adapting to the different catchers, even though they've worked together throughout fall ball. And even now, UMass Boston hasn't necessarily settled in on one starting catcher, with pretty good catching depth this season with 2 or 3 guys in the mix.
Payoff pitch. Almost hit him, just getting out of the way. Corey's going to have a free pass down to first.
I think you're going to see a lot of that today with pitchers struggling with their control. It's so much harder to grip the ball at this point. You mentioned the 20-mile-per-hour winds. Well, that's for Dorchester, Mass. When you're as close to the water as we are,
right.
The winds are probably 10 to 15 miles per hour stronger than that. And this is the guy that needs to have a good day and a good season for Brandeis. Oppenheimer, the lone returner in the middle of the lineup, one of the captains on this team. He had a pretty strong season a year ago.
For a team that only hit 208, he was the only hitter over 300, hit 325 as he takes a first pitch strike. 325 in 22 games, but it was 27 hits, 8 were doubles, the rest were singles, hit just 6 RBIs. So a guy they had at the top of the lineup last season. Now they're looking for power numbers out of in the middle of the lineup here in 2018.
Yeah, that 6 RBI total tells you that he didn't have a lot of opportunities with those 325. It's just going to be interesting to see for this team who settles in where. Oppenheimer's obviously going to be given a chance to be a starter and should be, but all these other guys, they could be in a different spot in the lineup in their next game. A couple weeks from now, it could be a totally different looking starting 9.
The 1-1 runner goes, swung on and missed. The throw down sails left of the bag. And getting in time is Corey with the stolen base.
Yeah, if that's a better throw, he easily gets Corey. But McCormick's issue is he's got the strong arm, just wasn't able to locate. If that's on the left side of the second base bag there, Corey's dead to rights. And now a little bit of a chance for Brandeis here to get on the board early with the runner in scoring position with just 1 down.
It's a big pitch for Burgos. 1-2 strikeout here would go a long way. Or anything hit to the right side, the left side of the infield, pardon me, as time is called.
It's going to be difficult to drive anything. You see all 3 of the Beacons outfielders pretty far in because the wind is blowing in hard right now.
And it shifted more straight in as opposed to coming in from right. Here's the 1-2. Just missed. McCormick tried to frame it. Yeah, it's going to go to 2-2.
Could have been a little low. It looked pretty good from our angle, but again, the home plate umpire, Stephen Williams, is right in front of our view of home plate. Makes it a little bit more difficult.
Not a bad time to try to pick your corner if you miss. You still have a 2-2 count. Now goes away with the off-speed pitch. Oppenheimer doesn't chase. Excellent discipline. And we go from 1-2 to 3-2. Oppenheimer last season struck out just 12 times, walked just 5. He's a guy that likes to put his bat on the ball, but we've seen him be very patient here, maybe from freshman to sophomore. He's got a little more disciplined at the plate.
I think this is also the approach Derek Carlson was asking for, recognizing the temperature.
Hit foul towards the new parking structure. And that thing is going to be christened with baseballs throughout the spring.
We think there were about 6 that ended up in the parking garage on Wednesday alone. I'm sure it'll end up being closer to 100 after the Beacons' 15 to 20 games here at home this spring.
Those big holes in the side of the building, those aesthetic or those craters from baseballs. Another walk from Burgos. That one comes inside. He had him at 1 and 2 and then 3 straight balls.
Burgos hasn't been missing by a lot. He really thought that that 2-1 pitch or 2-2 pitch was a strike previously to that foul ball. And now he's just got to settle in. Burgos is very good at pitching to contact. He's been trying to maybe be a little too precise, and I also think that he's just not getting as good of a control of the ball as he would like because of how cold it is out today.
Here's Darren Bates. Takes a first pitch strike. So 4 first pitch strikes for Burgos, even with the 2 walks. Bates, a freshman from Jamestown, Rhode Island. He will play first base today. Throws righty, bats lefty.
He's a big boy, 6'2", 220. This is a guy who might have a little bit of pop in the middle of their lineup.
All right, he's a designated hitter today. That one's fouled back. So an 0-2 count, first 0-2 count for Burgos.
And you can see with that swing, he's really looking to belt the ball out. Wanderson Pinales is still pretty far in right field, but the Beacons' left and center fielders have backed up a little bit. Joey Rogers is also pushed way into left center right now as they expect Darren Bates to possibly push the ball the opposite way.
The wind blowing straight across from right to left now as well. Here's the 0-2. It's a chopper down the first base line. It's going to go foul. Backhanded down there by Fowler. Burgos now throwing in the strike zone, attacking the strike zone a little bit more than he was earlier.
Yeah, Burgos already has been forced to throw 22 pitches here in the first inning. Not what you wanted to see if you're UMass Boston. Good news is that the entire bullpen should be pretty fresh after Saturday's game against Stevens was postponed. But right now, if you're UMass Boston, you're just trying to get out of this inning with as little damage as possible, recognizing that the bats should be able to put up some runs today.
The 0-2 breaks back in, called strike 3, and Bates is sent down looking. That was a beautiful pitch.
That was an absolutely filthy pitch. There's not much Bates can do. That pitch looked like it was going about a foot or two into the right-handed batter's box and ended up right on that outside corner. Nothing Bates could do, and a perfect pitch, taking some of the pressure off of Burgos here with 2 on and 2 out.
And bring up Isaac Fossis, the first baseman. Fossis, another freshman from Dudley, Massachusetts, and he takes a first pitch strike. 5 batters, 5 first pitch strikes for the junior Fernando Burgos. He's gotten a ground out, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Takes a long look in here. Oppenheimer on first, Corey on second. That one misses. Count goes to 1-1.
And this is a nice little test for Burgos early on in the season. Not necessarily the conditions he would like to pitch in, but it's going to help out. UMass Boston's going to play a lot of really strong teams down in Florida. 5 of the 7 teams they face will be teams that made it to the NCAA tournament a year ago. So getting some little bit of extra pressure here in that first game will help out a guy who might face some better lineups, some more experienced hitters down in Florida when he gets his second start, probably next Sunday, but could be early next week, depending on how Daniel Gamble and Brendan Eigerbrodt used their rotation in the first couple weeks of the season.
2 on, 2 out, the 1-2 pitch. Called strike 3, sit him down, Isaac Fossis. Back-to-back strikeouts for Fernando Burgos, and he works his way out of a 2-walk jam in the first. No hits, no runs. The judges do leave 2 on. After half an inning, it's Brandeis, nothing, UMass Boston coming up. You're watching UMass Boston Baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
The starting pitcher for the Brandeis Judges will be Sean O'Neill, a senior from Reading, Massachusetts, 6-foot right-hander. Last year was 3-4 with a 3.32 ERA. Appeared in 9 games, started all of them. 59 innings, 53 strikeouts, but he did allow 54 hits. Hit-to-run ratio is not bad, though, so he'll let guys on, but he'll strand them.
Well, O'Neill had a really strong outing last year against UMass Boston. 7 innings, got the win, allowed just the 1 run on 3 hits, had 5 strikeouts. So it'll be interesting to see if UMass Boston makes some adjustments. Again, not an overpowering guy, pretty good control, and trusted his defense. The other question is, how does this defense look behind him with 7 guys making their collegiate debuts defensively?
First, the lineup for the Beacons. Joey Rogers leads things off. He's in center. Kyle Boudris in the hot corner. He bats second. Dave Murphy's the second baseman, hitting third. Chris Fowler's your first baseman. He's hitting cleanup. Nick Herzog is in left. He bats fifth. Ryan McCormick's the catcher, hitting 6, 7, 8, 9. Wanderson Pinellas in right field. Anthony Cersei is the designated hitter. Cesary is the designated hitter. And Charlie Hughey is the shortstop. He bats ninth. Again, that's the lineup against Sean O'Neill. We'll get the Brandeis defense after this first pitch to Rogers, who digs in on the left side. That one's outside for a ball, so Seth Brandeis behind O'Neill.
Yeah, let's take a look at the defensive lineup when we get a chance. We'll actually take it after this pitch. But here we go right now as Rogers ahead in the count 2-0. Brandeis, a lot of question marks with this team. Oppenheimer and the right fielder O'Leary, the only returners. Parrott and Frey in left and center. Corey, Oppenheimer, Ziegler, Fossis around the infield, and Luke Hall behind the plate for Sean O'Neill.
Went to a strike there. We were going through that. So the count goes to 2-1 to Rogers. Fouls this one back. Rogers last year in 27 games only recorded 23 plate appearances and mostly used as a defensive substitute and a pinch runner. Did not have much success at the plate, just 2 hits in those 23.
Did have a triple and a home run, though. This is the guy the Beacon said was their best hitter throughout fall ball and throughout the spring, so they want to see him in the lineup.
Grounds this one down the third base line, foul. Works the pitch count quickly up to 5.
And Alex, the reason the Beacons love Joey Rogers is he's a guy who lives, eats, and sleeps baseball. He is constantly focused on the game. Right now, it's the Beacons' #1 starter with JT Moore a little banged up, and he's a guy that really could end up being a 4-year stud for the Beacons after mostly focusing as a pitcher his freshman season.
2-2 is inside. Rogers scoots out of the way. Count goes full as the wind now whipping straight, and you can hear it hitting the windows in front of us.
And feel it, too.
Yeah. Rogers is a sophomore from Dayton, Massachusetts. Did he check? No, strike 3. Rogers halfway down to first.
Yeah, that was close. Rogers tried to hang on, couldn't quite do it. The Beacons, the one spot they struggled in the other day was the leadoff spot. Sal Frascino struck out 3 times. He's on the bench today. Could come in as a relief pitcher for the Beacons, who are a little bit short in the pen, trying to get a couple guys back.
That'll bring up Kyle Boudris, the third baseman. Boudris last year hit .369. Slugging percentage up near .500. Takes a first pitch strike.
And Kyle had a nice little day for himself on Wednesday against LaSalle. Boudris 2 for 3 with 2 runs, a single, and a double before being pulled for a defensive replacement.
Takes the 0-1 low and inside. O'Neill comes set. The righty kicks and deals. Hit right back up the middle. Can the second baseman get there? Ziegler off balance. Throw on a hop. No, it pops out of the glove of Fossis. And we will see how they score it. And it's either going to be a hit or an error, but Boudris down to first.
We're going to go E3. Yeah, I think he should have scooped that.
Are you our official scorer, too, in addition to color?
Just we have a conversation here in the booth, and realistically, Ziegler's throw beat Boudris. I think that ball should have been caught over there by the first baseman who had time. He just tried to make it look a little bit nicer than it needed to. Either way, the Beacons with their first base runner of the day.
I would think perhaps hometown scoring might give it a hit, but I certainly see your argument. Now we don't have to. One of the worst things about calling baseball is waiting to hear hit or error. With you right here, we don't have to wait.
Well, the other thing is Kyle Boudris will tell you he's not the fleetest of foot, and he definitely did not beat the ball to the bag, as he would have been out there by a foot or two.
Check down at first, and Boudris beats the ball to the bag again. It was an excellent play, though, by Ziegler to get to that ball and make that throw.
A really nice play, and I think the only reason Ziegler was able to get there was because of the wind. Typically, I think that ball gets out to the outfield, but with the wind blowing the way it is, you're going to see a lot of balls just not go as far or as fast as you would typically see on a day where the wind wasn't blowing directly towards the backstop.
This is Dave Murphy at the plate. The second baseman had success and limited opportunities last year. Hit .500 at 14 at-bats, including 7 doubles and a triple. That's in their first strike.
Murphy had an inside-the-park home run.
I'm off by a column. A triple and a home run?
Yeah, he had a home run last year, a 3-run homer against Wheaton, a team that made it to the College World Series. He had a 2-run homer, a 2-run inside-the-park homer, and a 2-run triple or 2-run double the other day against LaSalle. Both of them were wind-aided. Don't think he's going to get anything wind-aided today.
As we see Hall go out to the mound, catcher Luke Hall going to go speak with his pitcher. Obviously, in Major League ball, we're not going to see as much of this season. I think we're all pretty happy about that. Speed the games up a little bit, but no restrictions at this level, at least not yet, on mound visits. Here's the 1-2 to Murphy. Just a bit outside.
Murphy's a guy who has pretty good plate vision. As we're going to just double check on that. And the ball's definitely, ooh.
Now, he didn't beat that to the bag. I don't know if we can put that up, as this is hit right back to the pitcher. Could be too. And it gets by the shortstop, Oppenheimer, into left field. Center fielder Frey isn't to back it up, but Sean O'Neill threw away a tailor-made double play, and the Beacons are going to have 2 men on. Official score?
I think we're going to go with the shortstop this time, as, again, that ball was in the glove, and Brandeis just unable to make the play.
Again, I'm throwing that ball into the wind. That may have been a part of it. I'd love to get a look at that one if we can.
Well, we can certainly, if I can figure my way around multitasking here, we can certainly take a look. It's definitely going to be an error on the judges. The only question is, let's take a look at how far away that ball was from Oppenheimer.
He tried to throw it to the outside of the bag so he didn't get broken up. But, yeah, that's a play. That's right where you put that ball as a pitcher. Gave him room to step off the bag before he threw to first.
Sorry we keep showing the replays to each other and not to you at home, but that's part of the process, as it certainly makes our job a little bit easier.
In the meantime, Chris Fowler's the batter. He takes a first pitch strike, and the second one is outside. Fowler, it's a big bat in the middle of this lineup last year. 7 home runs. Part of 24 extra base hits in 50 games. He had 367.
There is a huge gap in right center right now. I'm not quite sure what Brandeis thinks the scout is, but if Fowler could just poke one over the head of the second baseman Ziegler, you could see 2 runs potentially score on a ball that just gets out to medium right center, as the right fielder is playing very close to the line. O'Leary out there for the judges.
And they're pitching him inside, too. They're giving him balls to pull, maybe playing the wind, blowing from right to left, as this one is a breaking ball outside that never broke. Count goes to 3-1 on Fowler. Nick Herzog on deck. One more ball. He gets a chance to bat with the bases loaded. Herzog can swing. He had 291 last year. That one is hit well foul. It's going to get over onto the BC High football field.
Let's take a look at that error by the shortstop, Oppenheimer, that could have gotten Brandeis out of the inning, as it was a perfect ball, exactly what you're looking for O'Neill. Comes right back up the middle, and then the throw to Oppenheimer catches him in the glove. It's a little bit off the mark, but he's just unable to make the play. He's thinking 2 there when you have to get that first out. You talk about that in football, basketball. It's the same thing in baseball. Make sure to get the sure out, and instead the Beacons have 2 on here with 1 out. Another ball, a hit, or something like that, and the Beacons will have the bases loaded without putting a hit on the board.
Fowler digs in. 3-2 count, 2 on, 1 out. Here's the pitch. Hit into left field over the shortstop's head. That's going to score at least 1. On his way home is Boudris. They're going to wave home Murphy as there's some trouble with that ball in left field. Murphy's going to score without a throw. It's a 2 RBI double for Chris Fowler, and the Beacons take the lead.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want from Fowler. Not trying to do too much. There's so many times you see a batter really just try to pull the ball. Fowler content to just hit it over the head of the shortstop. And Murphy, coming off a groin injury, not the fastest of guys, but easily able to score, as there was a pretty poor relay throw from the left fielder.
Now, I won't lie, I was watching the batters come around. I did not see what happened in left field where the ball got lost, but little surprised when they gave Murphy the go-around. First pitch to Herzog is a ball. Herzog again hit 291 last year, the righty. Watches a 1-0 go by to even the count. So it started out with a strikeout by Joey Rogers. Back-to-back errors put 2 on. And then Chris Fowler, the line drive into left, has the Beacons up 2-0. O'Neill, the look back to second. Kicks in, deals, showing bunt. Fowler pulls it back late. Ball gets away, and Fowler froze a little bit out there at second. May have had a chance to get down the line, but didn't react quick enough.
Well, Fowler is not going to take any chances here. Already leading by 2. Herzog's a guy who had 40 RBI as a sophomore, and the Beacons want to make Brandeis work after they already had 2 errors. No reason to give them a potential easy out, just 1 out in the inning.
The 2-1. That one misses for ball. So you are in the plural of RBI is still singular group.
Yes.
The plural. See, I always heard RBIs.
As a statistic guy, I am in the plural of RBI. As a broadcaster, I can understand it going either way.
It's just I feel like RBI is one of these things, even though it is anagram, right, is the word? Stands for something?
Yes, yeah.
Even though it is an acronym, thank you. Even though it is an acronym for
runs batted in.
I feel like it itself, RBI, the term has become a singular noun in the vernacular, so I prefer to go with the RBIs. I see an RBI as a noun instead of as an acronym, but one of the many great baseball statistic debates that, if you need to catch some Z's, you listen to 2 people get into. Here's the payoff pitch. Hit back up the middle. Is this one going to hang up? Yeah, the wind killed it. They're giving Fowler the windmill. Here he comes. The throw is going to be cut off at the mound. 3-0 Beacons. RBI single for Nick Herzog.
And oh, how those errors have killed Sean O'Neill in this inning. He gave up 1 run a year ago against UMass Boston. Already 3 runs here in the first with just the 1 out. And it's another nice piece of hitting from Herzog, recognizing the fact that he doesn't have to crush the ball, able to get it over the head of the infielders, and there's so much room here in the outfield. Brandeis is also playing a lot deeper than UMass Boston did in the first inning, as the Beacons have a little bit more confidence potentially in the speed of their outfield.
Confidence perhaps in the wind as well as Ryan McCormick steps up. The catcher will bat lefty here. First pitch is outside, a running start for Herzog, but he doesn't go. McCormick last season in 31 games hit .302. 16 hits, 5 of them were doubles. Picked up 14 RBIs. Check back to first. That was close.
Yeah, Herzog was going the wrong way. It just wasn't a great pickoff throw as the throw from O'Neill hit the chest of his first baseman rather than throwing that down into the red turf over there by first base.
Herzog took 10 bases in 13 tries last year. That's a called strike. Count goes to 1-1. And this is where, if you're Brandeis, you saw the Beacons put up a 20 spot in their last game. 3-0 after the first. Not where you want to be, but it's manageable. You got to put the kibosh on this as quickly as possible. Ground ball to third. Could be a double play to second and 1. On to first. No, not in time, but they get one big one. And it's 2 down.
That took a while to get going. The throw from the third baseman wasn't the strongest, and McCormick runs okay for a catcher, able to get in there in time, allowing Wanderson Pinales, who hit an inside the park home run back in the 7th, maybe the 8th inning on Wednesday for his first at-bat of this second contest.
Pinales will dig in from the right side, takes a big swing at the first pitch. And can't catch up to it. It was a high fastball. Those will tease you. Pinales, a junior from the Dominican Republic, a transfer from Western Oklahoma.
He hit really well in his 2 years at the NAIA school. A local Boston kid, went to high school in Jamaica Plain, just outside the city. So he's back in a familiar area, and he's a guy who can do a lot of damage in the Beacons lineup.
The 0-2 gets by the catcher. Hall's got to track it down. Scooting up to second is McCormick on the pass ball.
And while at the end of this half inning, we'll take a look at a couple of Beacons highlights. UMass Boston already putting up 3 here. Beacons scored in all but 2 frames the other day to put up 3 to start this game. This Beacons lineup is looking very scary to start 2018.
And when misses, count goes even at 2-2. Anthony Cesuri, the designated hitter, on deck.
Cesuri. We'll get it. He's going to have.
See, I have it written phonetically, and that's still not helping me.
On the outside corner, so O'Neill finally gets out of the inning, but not before the Beacons were able to score a couple of runs. We'll take a look at the highlights from the Fowler double and the Herzog RBI single.
And as we go to break with these, the Beacons put up 3 runs on just 2 hits. They do leave 1 stranded. There were 2 errors in the inning. Through 1 frame, it's UMass Boston 3, Brandeis nothing. You're watching UMass Boston baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Fernando Burgos had a couple big strikeouts in that first inning, getting the last 2 batters looking, Darren Bates and Isaac Fawcett. And then he had a long time to sit as the Beacons sent 7 men to the plate in that first inning, put up a 3 spot. Now Brandeis has to answer. Dan Frey will be the batter. Frey, freshman from Ipswich, Massachusetts, South Shore kid. That one's inside for a ball. Frey's in center field today. Burgos comes set, quickly turns it around. That one catches the lower outside corner. Burgos in that first inning, a ground out, issued back-to-back walks on full counts, and then 2 strikeouts. So pitch count is a bit higher than they want it to be, but no damage done thus far. And the first ball to Frey was the first pitch ball he's thrown. Everything else had been first pitch strikes. That one is fouled back. Nothing like a 35-minute first inning there, Seth.
Well, you saw a lot of pitches. You saw a pair of errors. All 3 of those Beacons runs are going to be unearned. And you're also dealing with this wind. We're going to talk about it a lot, and you're going to think that we're weather nerds. But when you talk about really cold temperatures and high winds, I mean, you see Fernando Burgos blowing on his hand. He just came out of the dugout where he probably was wrapped up in a heavy coat. It's that cold. And both of these coaches wanted to get this game in. This is not typical New England baseball weather.
Well, it kind of is. It's not typical baseball weather. But
well, at most New England schools, you're not getting the wind off the water.
That is true. That is
and
true.
And the wind is the worst part today. The 40 degrees, not that bad.
Sun's out. You know,
now.
It felt warm walking from the parking lot, and then you get about 5 steps out of your car, and it drops significantly. Anybody who thinks that we should stop talking about the wind because it's not that big of a deal should come stand out here for 5 minutes, and then they can tell us.
Yeah,
they can tell our camera people more specifically. We're in the booth. We can't talk as this one's sky. This could stay in play. Nope. It's going to get out over onto the track.
Yeah, there's just not that much room. Just like Fenway Park, not quite enough room to be able to catch some of those balls down the left and right field line. Wondering when we'll see our first player play here at Monin Park and then play at Fenway Park. Certainly a long shot, but it'd be interesting.
Swing and a miss. And make it 3 strikeouts in a row for Daniel Burgos.
Fernando Burgos.
What did I say?
Daniel Burgos.
Fernando Burgos. I don't know how that happened. Again, beginning of the season.
He's settled in, though. He really has. After giving up those couple of walks, he's settled in, and he's a guy who needs to get into a rhythm, like pretty much all pitchers.
First pitch gets away. It's going to be a ball. Burgos follows it up with a strike. Count goes to 1-1. I mean, you see D3 players matriculate to the major leagues from time to time. You have so much more development time in baseball that it happens. This one is blooped into right field. It's going to be the first hit of the game for the Judges, and it's O'Leary.
Well, I mean, we've seen a couple of players since Mona Park is opened up play here at UMass Boston and then go on to be drafted. We saw Sam Dexter, the shortstop from Southern Maine. He was a top 10 pick. Kobe Doobie was I want to say top 10, I mean top 10 rounds.
Top 10 rounds, right.
Same thing for Cody Doobie of Keene State. UMass Boston has an alum who was drafted by the Baltimore Orioles. Before Monon Park opened up, that he's currently on the coaching staff as the Beacons hitting coach. That's Jamil Moquette. It happens, but to make it all the way to the major leagues, those happen a little bit less. Kristen Norfia, a Wheaton College grad, is in the major leagues. He's a utility guy who's bounced around. And then the coach up at Southern Maine, Ed Flaherty, his son didn't play Division III baseball. I think he played at Vanderbilt, but he's got Division III connections. Ryan Flaherty, who's been a Baltimore Oriole for the past couple seasons.
Well, you didn't put a major league qualifier on it, and I know there's been talk, as this throws over to first, no tag, there's been talk of establishing a bean pot at multiple levels in other sports, and you have to imagine if there was going to be a baseball bean pot, which there has been in the past, they would try to play it at Fenway. So perhaps,
well, there is a Division I baseball bean
right.
pot.
This is looped over the head of the shortstop. Hughie lunged for it, couldn't get there. Wind definitely had something to do with that one. It's back-to-back hits for the Judges.
Yeah, and this is a good response from Brandeis. I've been very impressed with their patience and their approach today at the plate. They're a team that's looking to make Burgos work a little bit. They're trying to get into the Beacons bullpen, and they're trying to not make quick outs. They want to make UMass Boston work, recognizing the talent level of this Beacons team.
This is Alex Perrott, the left fielder and the 9-hitter. He takes a first pitch ball. What would a D3 baseball bean pod be? UMass Boston. Imagine MIT would get in there.
Tufts. If you're talking about the top teams. And then the fourth becomes a little bit more difficult. Probably Suffolk, though.
Suffolk.
If you're talking about the four.
Put Wheaton in the conversation.
Wheaton's a little bit Wheaton, Babson, a little bit further. You're talking about not even really suburbs of Boston, but like suburbs of suburbs. Yeah. And when you talk about it, you're talking Tufts, typically a top team in the NESCAC, Suffolk, a top 2 team in the GNAC, MIT, a top team in the NUMAC, and UMass Boston. I mean, you're talking about 4 really strong teams that typically play each other a lot. UMass Boston and Tufts scrimmage every year before the season. They don't play each other during the regular season. But that would be a really fun idea that we've kicked around. It's just sort of getting all the dates to work out and getting the teams to agree, because all 4 conferences play slightly different conference schedules, which makes it a little bit more difficult. Probably have different spring breaks as well.
2-1 count here. Burgos gets a much-needed strike across. He started leading off with a strikeout, his 3rd straight. And then back-to-back singles has O'Leary on second and Hall on first with 1 out. Here in the top of the second.
Perrott did not like that call. He thought it was too far inside. Let's see what Burgos tries to do here. I might try to bury one in the turf and see if Perrott chases.
Said he goes knee-high with an off-speed pitch, and it's fouled away.
Nice big cut there. This is going to be a short outing for Burgos, who is through 24, 25 pitch in that first inning. He's probably close to 50 at this point.
It looks like there's somebody throwing, actually, as you say that, out in the
I think he'll get
bullpen.
If he can get out of this inning, I think he'll get a 3rd. I just don't think he'll get the 4 or 5 we were potentially expecting. No reason to push him here this early in the season.
Especially with this lead, as that one comes inside, the count goes full.
The Beacons have Sal Frashino, their opening day center fielder, warming up. Lefty who started in the past for UMass Boston. Didn't pitch last season, but has been throwing a little bit during the preseason this year. The Beacons look to add a little bit of additional depth while a couple guys come back from injury.
3-2, swung on and missed. Got him with the off-speed stuff outside. 4th strikeout of the game for Burgos.
And that's a bad swing and a miss. Perrott chasing a pitch well outside the zone. Should have been bases loaded. And instead, Brandeis giving UMass Boston another chance here to get out of a little bit of an early jam. The exact opposite of what the judges did when the Beacons were at the plate in the bottom half of the first.
2 on, 2 out. Back to the top of the order for Brandeis. Ziegler takes the first pitch ball. He grounded out off of Burgos' foot to start things off here today. Wind's now totally shifted. Now it's blowing in from left field. That's not even the direction of the water.
That's Boston for you.
Well, look, the flag out in the center is blowing the complete opposite direction of a flag over in left as this is grounded to second. Murphy down on it. Sidearms to first, and the side is retired. 2 hits in the inning, 2 left on, no errors, and no runs for Brandeis. We've played 1.5. It is UMass Boston 3, Brandeis nothing on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
People at UMass Boston, they're here because they know they can have an impact, not just on research, but on people, on their students.
This is just a starting point. It only has potential to grow, and it has a big potential to grow up.
You're really having a direct impact on people's lives, and you can see that now, and you can see that years from now.
So I think it's becoming like the place that people want to go.
What UMass Boston is able to offer to its young people certainly stands out to that mission that was set right out in the beginning. It's something UMass Boston should be and can be very proud about.
So we head to the bottom of the second, a look at what's ahead for UMass Boston as the season gets underway. After this one, they will play at home again tomorrow against MIT. And then they head down to Florida. They'll play St. John Fisher out of the Empire 8 Conference. Nichols as well. The rest of their schedule, RIT Rowan, RIT again, Spalding, and College of St. Scholastica. Scholastica. I missed a letter in there. Cold's getting to me.
St. John Fisher is a really strong program. The Beacons actually saw them in the NCAA Regionals 2 years ago when they were down in the Mid-Atlantic region. Beacons ended up losing a game they were leading in the undefeated matchup between a pair of 2-0 teams. So there's a little bit of a rivalry there, and then the Beacons are going to see a lot of teams that made the NCAA tournament. You talk about Rowan, RIT, a lot of good chances for the Beacons to pick up some quality wins here early in the season.
I just know from experience in that Empire 8 Conference, Stevens, and every year beating Ithaca in the conference finals just about to claim that spot. The Empire 8, and again, this kind of goes back to the weather of college baseball in the Northeast, as Anthony Cesari. What am I got to write this down right.
Accessory.
Why can't I write this phonetically?
Takes one a little bit low there, 2-1. Cesari, a guy who, as a freshman, didn't see a ton of time. Was behind a ton of talented hitters. Had a shoulder injury last year, missed the entire season, and is now back.
Fouls this one back to the backstop. Anyway, as I was saying, St. John Fisher, very good team, but they run into trouble where sometimes those Empire 8 schools have so much trouble just getting on the field, they will lose their automatic bid from time to time. They won't qualify. They won't play enough games.
I think last year the SUNYAC tournament actually didn't happen. There was so much rain, and they had to take the top seed. That is something that's written into every conference's bylaws. Even the New England Hockey Conference, in reading their bylaws, if hypothetically there was a storm where you couldn't play a semifinal or championship game, the top seed would get it. But certainly a worse thing when you're talking about upstate New York in spring.
Cesari Fouls this one off his foot. Count stays at 3-2. Working the count here, doing a good job of it. O'Neal, the payoff pitch. In there, strike 3, froze him up. Not sure what Sasuri was looking at, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, you can't be choosy today. I think the umpires are going to try to move this game along. We've already seen Steven Williams punch out a couple of guys on pitches that were a little bit less obvious than that one. So Sesuri's going to head back and probably have some words with the Beacons hitting coach. Just need to be aggressive, especially as a DH. You're up there to swing the bat. Your only focus today is those at bats. So Sesuri, guy who doesn't have all that much collegiate experience, he'll take that and learn. Let's also give credit to Stephen O'Neal. There's a 3 spot up next to the Beacons' name. There shouldn't be. All 3 of those runs unearned. He had a really strong outing last season. He's a guy who's not going to be flustered by being behind.
2 errors, 2 hits have helped the Beacons out. Charlie Hughey, the batter, grounds a 2-0 to second. Ziegler's got to charge it a bit. It was a slow roller, gets there in time, fires to first. And there are 2 down as we take a look around the rest of the Little East Conference and their action today. The Beacons received 5 of the 8 first-place votes in the conference. Southern Maine got 3. That's kind of been the rivalry here the last couple of years. And everybody files in behind that. Showing bunt, pulling back. It's going to be a strike anyway.
And I don't mind that from Rogers after striking out his first at-bat. Just try to see what the defense is going to do. Joey's a guy with just 2 hits a season ago that really probably could use some early season confidence. Hit pretty well over the summer with the Cortland Crush, the New York Collegiate Baseball League. But when you have that 087 number in the back of your head from a season ago, which he's a baseball guy, he recognizes what he did a season ago. He'd like to get a couple hits here in his first couple of bats.
Skies this one.
It's gonna be
behind the third base bag. It's out of play.
Yeah,
we just keep getting back to upstate New York, don't we, Cortland Crush?
There's a lot of connections. Beacons have sent quite a few players up to the Cortland Crush the last couple of years. You talk about Steve Witkowski, Josh Lopez, Dave Murphy, Anthony Searles 2 summers ago. Last summer it was Chris Monroe and Joey Rogers. The Beacons have a couple of freshmen who have committed to play with the Crush this summer. It's seemingly a pretty competitive league. All the guys rave about their experiences up there with the Crush. So if the players like it and if they're coming back as better baseball players, Brendan Eigerbrodt certainly has no complaints.
Here is the 1-2 to Rogers. Couldn't hold up his swing. And the side is retired. No hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left on base. 2 full in the books. UMass Boston 3. Brandeis nothing on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Take a look right now around the rest of the conference. No games today. There are 2 games tomorrow at that Northborough complex. UMass Dartmouth and Worcester State. Worcester State, a team that made the NCAA tournament last year out of the MASCAC. Plymouth State, another LEC team, taking on Framingham State, a team the Beacons will not be playing anytime soon during the regular season after some antics the last time they were here at Monin Park. We won't go any further than that, Alex. But the Beacons and Framingham State, they're not big fans of each other on Twitter. As UMass Boston, it's going to be an interesting season here in the Little East Conference. You talk about Southern Maine being strong. Eastern Connecticut State just won't go away despite struggling a little bit out of conference. And I think UMass Dartmouth is going to continue to be a pest. They're actually redoing their baseball complex and athletics complex in the next couple of years. So UMass Dartmouth might end up being a team that starts getting some better recruits as well in the Little East Conference that's trying to become a consistent 2-3 bid conference.
Corey hits this one left underneath it to make the play as Herzog, and there's one down. That was Corey, Oppenheimer, and Bates. The other two due up this inning if anybody reaches Fossis.
Is that our first fly ball today?
That's been caught, yes.
Well, we've seen a couple balls flared out over an infielder, but I don't think we've seen a true fly
well, I
ball.
more so meant fair fouls. Or
That's
first fair.
That's true.
Yes,
that's true.
first.
But, I mean, that's part of the issue today with the wind, keeping a ball fair that's hitting the air.
Stay tuned later this inning. We'll take a look around Beaconville, see how the other UMass Boston teams are doing. As Oppenheimer tries to get a bunt down, and he has Fernando Burgos. He was the James Harden, you could say, to Fernando Burgos, Wesley Johnson.
Yeah, Fernando had a good laugh as he came off the mound hard, but slipped a little bit, ended up on his butt. Seems to be okay. He's already taken one batted ball back off the inside of his foot.
Basketball for sure, football sometimes. Occasionally hockey, the term broken ankles gets thrown around. You don't go to the ballpark expecting to see it. But there you go.
And it's interesting. Both teams have been showing bunt a little bit more frequently, recognizing the fact that it's going to be difficult to get good contact off these starters.
1-1 is low and away for a ball.
I think Brandeis is really just going to try to wear out Burgos a little bit more this inning, trying to get to the pen as Burgos has really settled in after that tough start.
Hit into right field, coming over, leaping up to make the grab is Pinales. An excellent catch out there in right field by Wanderson Pinales.
Yeah, that was as good as it gets, as Pinales was actually too far in there in terms of defensive positioning, but a really strong play from the junior transfer, and that was the question. How is his defense? And on that play, looked really good. So he was able to rob what could have been a double, even a triple if that ball had gotten over his head.
Here's Darren Bates, the designated hitter. Bates was the first of 3 consecutive strikeout victims for the Judges, first time through the lineup. And he takes the first pitch strike here. Burgos quickly with the second pitch. It's right back to him. He's got a charge, calls off the catcher. McCormick throws low to first, but gets it there in time to retire the side. No hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left on base. A 1-2-3 inning for Fernando Burgos. We've played 2.5 here in Dorchester. It's UMass Boston 3, Brandeis nothing on the Beacon Broadcast Network. We take a look now around Beaconville. What else is going on in the UMass Boston athletic community? Nothing else today, but this week we've got lacrosse tomorrow against MIT. Baseball as well against MIT tomorrow right here. Big track meet down in Sweet Home, Alabama. Softball opens their season on Saturday.
Yeah, it's the busiest time of the year. Fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately if you're a support staff member, unfortunately if you're a member of the team, most of the winter teams are done at this point. Otherwise, that just creates a real amount of chaos and havoc. But it's been a very strong winter season, and the Beacons have 3 athletes competing this week in the national championship.
This is sent down the left field line and foul from Kyle Boudreaux. Yeah, I know a couple of your UMass brethren up in, not up in Lowell anymore, not after Saturday night, but Lowell and Amherst had the crossover with hockey, the Hockey East playoffs. Basketball, too, still going on.
Yeah, Beacon's women's basketball team made it to the NCAA tournament for the first time ever. They fell on Friday night in a close one to St. Joseph's College in Maine. Beacon's women's hockey team made it all the way to the conference championship, fell just short against the top team in the country.
How about that run, though, for the women's basketball team? A lot of freshmen, mostly freshmen. They just couldn't get over that hump of UMass Dartmouth, 0-2 in the regular season. And they finally, third time was the charm, finally take them down in Dartmouth as this is grounded down the first base line.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch the first two games live, and really the Beacons certainly were not the better team in either game, but they didn't shoot well. And if you watch UMass Boston all season long, they're a team that's capable of shooting well in all three aspects of the game. That last game, they came out, they shot the ball much better. They got a great performance from Joey Grassi, the conference most outstanding player of the tournament. And it was great to see them make that run as the Beacons' three seniors got a chance to go to the NCAAs, for two of them, their first time.
That one's low and away to Boudris. He leads things off this inning. He'll be followed by Dave Murphy and Chris Fowler. It's the meat of the order, 2, 3, 4. Nick Herzog will get a chance if anybody gets on. Boudris reached on an error his first time up and scored.
And it was interesting. It was a great play by Ziegler, the second baseman, to get there. But the first baseman wasn't able to make the grab. Fossis on a scoop. And the Beacons should have been 3 up, 3 down. Instead, they had two players reach on errors and then a couple of nice RBI hits from 4 and 5.
And he may get help from another error. Oppenheimer bobbles, throws to first. And this time he gets it there in time.
Well, that's the one issue for Boudris. We've seen it back-to-back times. He just doesn't have the elite speed, even the average speed, to take advantage of some mistakes on the infield. But the Beacons will take it because typically he's hitting clean singles. Take a look at that replay from Oppenheimer when we get a chance.
In the meantime, David Murphy, he also reached on an error. It was an error by Oppenheimer. On a tailor-made double play ball, had a chance to go 1-6-3. He lifts this one foul right field side. That will get out of play.
Let's take a look at that replay right now and the really strong play from Victor Oppenheimer.
That didn't graze O'Neal on the way by, did it? It's tough to tell from this angle.
I don't think so. I think it was well above his right shoulder.
Here's the 0-1. Hit hard and grab. That's why they call it the hot corner. Corey lunging to his right to make the play. Mike Corey records the second out of the inning.
Slightly better defensive response here from the judges the second time around.
And that ball gets down to the corner. There's not a lot of foul ground, but there's a lot of room to roll down there in left field. That's extra bases if that gets by him.
We'll take a look at that play when we get a chance as well. These two teams providing a lot of defense.
Fowler back up the middle, no doubt about that one. Base hit, hops right over the second base bag. And Chris Fowler is 2 for 2. He had a 2 RBI double first time around, and now a base hit.
Yeah, Fowler is off to a phenomenal start to this season. A guy who, with all those preseason accolades, the question was how would he react? He's in the best shape of his life. He looks really calm, really confident, and again, not trying to do too much. You see, put that first ball out to left center, that one straight up the middle. He's not trying to pull the ball. He's not trying to smash the ball. He's just trying to get on base, and thus far, he's got 2 hits today. I think he had 2 or 3 the other day. It's a really nice start for the Barnstable native.
First pitch to Nick Herzog outside for a ball. Herzog had an RBI single. He drove in Fowler in his first at-bat. One another count, 2 outs, runner on first. Sean O'Neal in his third inning of work, trying to keep it at just 3 runs allowed. None of them have been earned thus far. Runners off with the pitch as this one is fouled over towards the garage.
Let's take a look right now at that great play from Corey to Rob Murphy. Otherwise, the Beacons would already have another run. Just absolutely ripped. He takes 1 step to his right and able to make the play. Otherwise, Murphy would have been looking at probably a solid double, as he still seems to be a little bit slower than he was before the sports hernia injury.
That one's outside for ball. Count goes to 2-1. Looks like Fowler wants to run here. He was off on a foul ball. Got a good running start on that pitch, but decided not to go. Short lead now at first, extends it a bit. throw over. They're going to check up on him. He's back in time.
Well, if nothing else, you're just trying to put a little bit something else in the back of O'Neal's mind. If you can get O'Neal to take a little bit of his focus and put it on Fowler, could potentially lead to Herzog getting a really good pitch to hit.
And he gets the outside part for strike 2.
It looked like a pretty good pitch to hit, but apparently not what Herzog was looking for, breaking ball in the outside corner.
Now the count is 2-2. The scoreboard has it as 2-2. I think the umpire just signaled 3-1. We will see. Not going to matter as this hits fair. Bouncing to first. Nobody's covering the bag. It gets by everybody. Nobody was Fossas and Ziegler and O'Neal all kind of converged on the ball. It was in that weird triangle, and none of them covered the bag. How are we going to score that one, Seth?
It's going to be an infield single. Realistically, even if that ball had been fielded on the bounce by the first baseman, I don't think anyone was beating Herzog to the bag. Just some miscommunication and the wind continuing to play some tricks on these defenders. That ball typically would have easily reached Fossas in the air and gets blown back. Now the Beacons with 2 on and 2 out.
And that will bring up Ryan McCormick. The catcher takes a first pitch strike. He grounded into a fielder's choice last time through. Gets the sign here from first. It's Fowler on second, Herzog on first, 2 outs. We are in the bottom of the third with the Beacons leading 3-0, looking to extend. Here's the 0-1 hit. Fouling out of play.
I'm always surprised more people don't get hit over on the track in the lacrosse field to our left. So many balls that just sky over there. You're not focused, but fortunately there's no one over there today.
Well, let me ask you this. Can the lacrosse field be in use? We'll have this tomorrow. The lacrosse field be used during a baseball game.
Yeah. And the scary thing is when the track field, or when there's a track meet in at the same time, because track runners are certainly not looking for the ball to come out of nowhere.
Here's the 0-2. Try to bounce one by him. It's a ball. So let me ask you this. I'm calling a lacrosse game tomorrow, by the way. Everybody should check that out, beaconsathletics.com. Is that game going to be pausing constantly for loose baseballs?
It probably happens once every inning or two. The ball will be on the field. Someone will pick it up, throw it off, and they'll continue play.
The 1-2. Grounded by the diving first baseman. Fossas into right field. They are going to give a late stop sign. Beacons are going to have some trouble here. Inning's going to end. They gave a stop sign to Fowler at third. Herzog kept
Inning's
going.
Not going to end. That's terrible coverage.
How did they
Brandeis.
miss that?
No one covered second base. Herzog did a great job. I do want to give a ton of credit to the right fielder O'Leary. He was charging that ball so hard that Bobby Barrett made the right decision. Fowler would have been out by about 10 feet. The problem was Herzog picked up the sign to initially go for Fowler, and he was going to third the whole way. The only issue was while the catcher did a perfect job of running the runner back to third base, no one covered second base. Both the shortstop and the second baseman late to the bag, and that's another bad defensive mistake by this young Brandeis team that's starting 7 freshmen, including 6 in the field. Their DH is a freshman as well.
First pitch is a ball to Wanderson Pinal. Struck out his first time through. And you can't give an error on that.
No, it's
nobody missed the ball, but
it's a mental error.
Exactly.
And a bad one if the Beacons can come through here.
The 1-2. Pinal is big swing and a miss.
Wanderson was looking to crush one over the fence. Not exactly what UMass Boston's probably preaching in the dugout. It's a big spot. If you're in UMass Boston, you can blow this game open right now with a single. Herzog's got great speed.
O'Neal kicks and deals. That just catches the outside part for a strike.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that one. That looked pretty low to me, well below the knee, but instead it's 1-2, and Pinales got to be smart here. Can't be taking these anything close, as we've seen quite a few batters rung up on a strike 3 looking.
Remember, O'Neal is not allowed an earned run yet. Because there was no error called, can't be an error called on that misplay earlier. He's got to help himself out here. Bounces that one.
Big play by Hull. He's already let 2 get through the wickets. That was easily a ball that could have gotten back to the backstop, would have scored a run, and kept it in front of him.
2-2 the count. Bases full of Beacons. Bottom of the third, UMass Boston trying to extend a 3-0 lead. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Pinales down on strikes for the second time today. Beacons leave them loaded. 3 hits. No runs, no errors. 3 left on base. We will step aside real quick. We'll be back with the 4th inning here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
UMass is very public service focused, and it piqued my interest, and I started doing more research on it. I'm very focused on what can I do to make the world around me a better place. My name is Lydia Grasso. I'm a junior at UMass Boston studying sociology and minoring in human rights. Because I won the Chancellor Scholarship at UMass, it allowed me to go to Cambodia. I was working at the Sihanouk Hospital Center of Hope. I was in the place of something horrible that had happened. I could either go home and kind of forget about that experience and kind of block it out, or I could do something so that things like that never happened again. UMass provides me with opportunities that I wouldn't get anywhere else and gives me a global perspective in a public setting. I definitely transformed at UMass.
New pitcher for UMass Boston is going to be Sal Frashino. First time he's seen the mound in a while, primarily an outfielder. Did not pitch last year, but he will get his first looks at 2018 now, the lefty,
and
in relief of Burgos.
Sal's a guy who, because he's played so much center field throughout his career, they've tried to limit his innings. He's been a starter throughout his career. Coming out of the pen today, that was the plan all along. It'll be interesting to see how many pitches he's got out of him. Beacon should have a pretty fresh bullpen out there if they need to use 5 or 6 guys. And it'll be interesting to see what Sal can do as I try to look up his numbers. First, though, let's take a look at our trivia question of the day. We'll have our answer in a couple innings. But just to give you a couple minutes to stew on this one.
Oh, this is an easy one. What Brandeis alumni tried to buy the New England Patriots before settling on the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, we're going to let people think about it.
I know you know.
I mean, obviously I know as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I thought this was pretty appropriate, both for the timeliness.
Come
and,
on.
Hey, we're talking about Brandeis University. I already brought up Nelson Figueroa in the pregame. Those are the 2 most famous Brandeis sports alums. The 3rd most famous is a fencer, and I knew you weren't going to get that.
Oh, no. So my dad went to Brandeis.
Okay.
And whenever I asked him about Brandeis athletics, fencing, all I'd hear about was the great fencing legacy of the Brandeis judges.
I think they did host the national championship in fencing either last year or the year before. But let's take a look right now at the stats on Frashino. As a freshman, he had 6 starts, went 1-4 with a 9 ERA in 24 innings. Sophomore, 9 appearances, 4 starts, 3-2 and 23 and 2/3 innings as he gives up a single up the middle there, 2.66 ERA. So pretty good sophomore year, 2.66 ERA in 23 innings, 13 strikeouts to 8 walks. And I don't think you're going to see Sal pitch a ton this year, but at least early on, he's another option out of the pen.
And he is in relief of Fernando Burgos, who threw 3 innings, allowed 2 hits, struck out 4, walked 2, did not surrender a run, earned or otherwise. And he cannot get the win. He did not throw long enough, but pitched very well. As Dan Frey steps in, Frey was a strikeout victim of Burgos last time through, fouls this one off his foot. Foss has had the single. This is Frey. O'Leary on deck if anybody reaches Luke Hall, or Foss has reached. If he can stay out of trouble, Luke Hall will bat. Here is the 0-1. Outside for a ball. It gets away from McCormick. Up to second base is Fossis. He looked for a second like he was going to try to make that turn. But he will go to second on the wild pitch.
Yeah, they're actually going to give that a pass ball on Ryan McCormick. I think we're going to have a little bit of a tougher score this year on the catchers. So we have a former catcher as the statistician. I agree with that, though. That ball catches your glove, you got to slide over and keep it in front. The one thing I will say with Sal is Sal's probably a little bit more wild than Burgos. He's going to struggle with the strike zone, especially not having pitched in the last 2 years. He is a guy the Beacons did rely on as a sophomore. He ended up pitching and starting the Beacons' 4th game of the NCAA Regional as a sophomore. Didn't have a great outing, but a guy who at one point was a big-time pitcher for UMass Boston.
Runs outside for ball count, runs to 3-1. Against Dan Frey, the center fielder. Top of the 4th, 3-0 Beacons here from Monin Park in Boston, Massachusetts. Big swing and a miss.
Great
out ahead of that
changeup.
off speed.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal changeup. I haven't seen Sal pitch in 2 years, but don't remember a changeup as effective as that one, as the batter was way out in front. It's tough to get a scouting report on a pitcher who hasn't pitched in 2 years.
Here's the payoff pitch from the lefty. Grounded down the first base line. Fair ball. It gets under the glove of Fowler. That's going to score 1. It rolls all the way to the corner. Pinales has it there up to second as Dan Frey with the RBI double. And Brandeis on the board.
My big question is, that ball was fair? That looked very, very close. Apparently it was, according to people, a little bit with a better angle than us up here, but just underneath the glove of Chris Fowler, and Brandeis just isn't going away at this point.
I don't know if we can get another look at that one, but looked like it got over the bag fair and then went foul.
Yeah, we don't have a good angle of that on replay. We'll show you the play, but we have the base runner rather than the ball down at first base.
Here is Dan O'Leary. And O'Leary takes the first pitch ball. Right fielder is 1 for 1. He had a base hit in the second. It was the first hit of the game for Brandeis. Runner on second. Here's the pitch. Fouled straight down. Count evens up at 1.
Let's take a quick look at that replay. You're not going to see the actual ball, but nice little swing as he's able to get around and then takes off. Nice turn there. Fowler watches that ball get by. It's Brandeis on the board for the first time here in 2018. They're right in this game at 3-1.
1 run on 4 hits for the Judges. 3 on 5 for the Beacons. Grounder to third on a hop. Boudris across the diamond. Got him. And there's 1 down.
Big first out for Frashino, especially keeping the runner at second base. So that will probably give him a little bit of confidence. And right now, if you're Sal, just trying to get through this inning. He might pitch 2, possibly even 3 today, but get through that first inning and keep your team in the lead. It doesn't appear as if the Beacons have anyone actively throwing. Certainly a lot of guys who are up, and that's just trying to stay warm right now. It's not easy when you're out in the bullpen as exposed as they are.
This one is hit straight in the air. Shallow left field. Shortstop called off by the left fielder. Herzog makes the catch, and there's 2 down.
Good communication between those two, and a nice job of rebounding after those back-to-back hits to start the inning, as Frashino now has a chance to get out of the inning with just the 1 run allowed. Got a pinch hitter already. This is interesting, but again, with so many young players, Brandeis is going to go to the bench. Connor Sheehan, the freshman outfielder out of Lincoln, Rhode Island, as this is already the 8th freshman we've seen today for this Brandeis team, and he's checking in for another freshman. Sheehan replacing Parrott in the lineup in the 9-hole. Parrott did strike out in his only at-bat.
Here's the first pitch to the righty. That is in there for a strike. Perhaps for Brandeis, just a case of playing matchups. You had the lefty brought in to start, and now you bring in Sheehan, the righty, to face the lefty. Breaking balls outside, stays outside. Count evens up at 1-1.
And we don't know. Maybe the game plan to start this game was to play 3 different guys in that spot with so many underclassmen on this roster. Just trying to see different guys get at-bats in a real game, because you can only see so much in scrimmaging against your own pitchers.
1-1 ground ball to second. Murphy has it, flips to first. It's a bit high, took Fowler off the bag, but he comes back and gets the tag down. A little more exciting than the Beacons wanted it to be, but they get out of the inning. 2 hits. They do score 1 run, and they leave 1 man on base. We have played 3.5 here at Monin Park. It's UMass Boston 3, Brandeis now with 1. You're watching UMass Boston Baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
My name is Albie Daly. I'm from Able Park, New York. I'm a forward on the UMass Boston men's hockey team, and my current major is exercise and health sciences. Being a member of the men's hockey team is a tremendous honor, just because being able to play collegiate sport while pursuing my dreams of becoming a physical therapist and studying what I'd like to in school means a lot. My favorite memory as a member of the men's hockey team would probably be a big goal that I scored last year, the NCAA quarterfinals. ECAC's quarterfinals against University of New England.
What a turn in momentum!
Just because it was a big boost for both myself and our team moving forward.
Perfect shot right there over the shoulder of the goaltender Drost.
Frozen Fenway was just our outdoor game at Fenway Park, and it was a tremendous experience. I think both for me and the guys on the team, and the program as a whole. But we got to see the Red Sox locker room, which was an awesome experience, and just being at Fenway Park when you go to school in Boston is second to none, really, and that's what you look for, when you're trying to experience collegiate athletics, and it's a really cool thing to be a part of. Being a student athlete at UMass Boston is a tremendous honor, just because it gives you the chance to really focus on your studies in a great academic environment while pursuing what you want athletically. So it's a pretty powerful thing.
We have a new pitcher into the game for the Judges. It is Greg Tobin, sophomore from Medway, Massachusetts. 1-4 a year ago with a 4.45 ERA. He replaces Sean O'Neill, who in 3 innings allowed 3 runs, albeit none of them earned. Allowed 5 hits, struck out 5, didn't walk anybody. Although, despite allowing no earned runs, he will be on the hook for the loss if the score holds.
A couple of Brandeis relievers were just coming in from the bullpen, so that's what the delay is about right now. And it's interesting. Cesare is going to have to face off against the lefty reliever. And a little bit of a herky-jerky movement from Tobin. He sort of stops midway through and then comes down, dips towards the plate. So that's going to be interesting to see how the Beacons react.
Will be Cesare, Hughie, and Rogers. 8, 9, and 1 is a big swing and a miss. Moves the count to 0-2. If anybody reaches, Boudris. These 3 combined, 8, 9, and 1. We throw 7 in there too. Pinellas, 7, 8, 9, and 1. Nobody's reached base yet. So we go through the bottom of the order for the second time.
Well, this is not easy if you're Cesare's the DH, trying to stay warm on a day like today. It's not like a Major League Park where you can go into a heated batting cage. You got to stay warm any way you can.
Off balance swing gets him with the breaking ball, and there's 1 down.
Yeah, that at bat kind of went the way I expected. Just facing off against the new look pitcher, and Cesare didn't get too many good cuts there. Beacons are going to have to react right now. This is where Brandeis wants UMass Boston. They gave up the early punch, but they've been able to keep UMass Boston off the board. And remember, Beacons left the bases loaded in that last half inning after a bad at bat by Wanderson Pinellas.
First pitch is a ball to Charlie Hughie. Hughie grounded out to second. His first time up. Hits this one hard past the Beacons dugout. Count goes to 1-1. So it is the first strikeout of the game for Tobin, who had 26 strikeouts in 28 innings a year ago. The lefty delivers the 1-1. Hughie fouls it off again. It will be 1-2 to Charlie.
Hughie's in a slightly more important spot this year than he was a season ago. In the 9-hole versus the 8-hole, you have to sort of set the table the second time around. That's where Sal Frascino was most of last season. Now, the Beacons lineup certainly susceptible to change. No Frascino today. He started in center and led off the other day. But the 9 spot in the Beacons lineup, it's so important because you want to not only work the pitcher but get on base in front of the Beacons' meat of the order, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's what Hughie's trying to do right here with already 1 out in the inning.
1-2's fouled. Everything's been the other way this at bat. They've all been fouled, but getting the ball down that first base line.
Nothing else. You're giving that middle of the order a chance to see Tobin, a guy the Beacons did not see a season ago. So the more pitches you see from a new reliever, the better chance you have of having success with each successive batter.
That one misses. Count goes to 2-2.
Tobin did start 3 games last season, so he's got to have a couple of pitches in his arsenal.
Inside, Hughie out of the way. Some nice break on that ball. Looked like for sure it was going to hit him. Broke back just enough. And if he throws that ball another 3 or 4 inches towards the other batter's box, that's a dynamite pitch. Here's the payoff. Hughie laid on it, grounds it down the third base line. Throw across the diamond is in time. And they get the Beacon shortstop.
That was awfully close. Corey did not get a lot behind that throw and just barely able to get Hughie. You had a nice at bat there, but had to drop the head of the bat on that pitch. Really only had one option to pull the ball and not able to beat it out.
And it was weird. It looked like he was late on it, but still hit it down the third base side. Generally not how that works. Joey Rogers, the batter, 3rd time through the Beacons lineup. Rogers 0 for 2. Struck out once looking, once swinging.
I think actually both of them were swinging because they ruled that first one. He did go around. But, well, not sure if the second one hit the plate or when it was over the plate or not, as Rogers is behind 0-2. It's interesting that right now Hughie's having a conversation with Boudris about what he saw. And that's what you want to see, communication between your different batters, giving the guys who are behind you a little bit of a scouting report, as Hughie did a nice job, nice 5 or 6 pitch at bat.
The 0-2. That one's at the eyes for ball. And you see Boudris now adjusting a swing a little more in the box with a bit more of an uppercut. Maybe hearing something about that breaking ball. That's a pitch you can get under if it hangs. Here's the 1-2. Strike 3 on the outside part. Painted the corner beautifully. Did Greg Tobin. And the Beacons are retired. 1-2-3. No hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left on base. 4 full in the books from Onan Park. It's UMass Boston 3, Brandeis 1 on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Beacons on the track! Beacons on the track!
My name is Tyler Hart.
Beacons on the track!
Being on the track and field team here is the greatest decisions I've made besides coming to UMass Boston. When you train together in that sort of intensity, you build a bond with people who are training with you. You know, it's like a higher level of friendship. It's like teammates, it's just a different level. My freshman year, I got a Rookie Athlete of the Year. Outdoor for my sophomore year, I was the first time I went to nationals. When I jump, it's a little difficult considering I have hereditary disorder known as amblyopia.
There we go.
It's pretty much just a partial blindness in the left eye. The best way to describe it is if you have decent prescriptions for contact lenses, you take one of the lenses out, and then you put your hand over the eye with that lens. That's my vision. I rely more on my steps as opposed to my visual perception of how far away the bar is. And since I can't see out of my left eye, I have to sit on the far left-hand side of the class. Hopefully coach for a few years, coach some high school kids, maybe even coach on a college level as like an assistant coach, and go to PA school, and then do a 5-year program and try to get my loans paid back, and then go from there.
So just 1 inning for Sal Frashino. He will be relieved by Ben Gottesman, the sophomore from Acton, Massachusetts. In limited action last year, did not surrender an earned run. Well, his full lineup here.
Yeah,
actually, Seth, you misled me on the ERA there.
No, this is his ERA from this year. Remember,
the
Beacons,
this year. Oh, you're
Beacons
right.
have a game. Yeah, 2 innings.
You're right.
Allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Allowed opponents to hit just 125. He's a guy who the Beacons are going to give a lot more action to this season. Last season pitched just about 5 innings. Was one of a number of UMass Boston players who didn't see a ton of time out of the pen. But the Beacons really like what Gottesman has been doing during the offseason. His fastball's up by about 5 miles per hour, which is obviously a huge difference when you're at this level. He's a guy who worked really hard. And right now he's got a pretty healthy arm. And that's big for a UMass Boston team that Brian Kaufman a little bit under the weather right now. JT Morin a little under the weather. Some of their big arms that were expected to have huge years this year. So it takes some of the pressure off of those guys to rush back when you have a guy like Gottesman who can come in and hopefully give you another productive outing, although it's probably 25 degrees cool. I'm not going to say 25. Probably 10 to 15 degrees cooler than when he took the mound the other day.
Frashino just 1 inning, 2 hits, did allow the 1 run, no walks, no strikeouts. First pitch is a strike to Scott Ziegler. The leadoff hitter is 0 for 2 for the Judges as they begin their third trip through the lineup. Fowler's second one off. It will be Ziegler, Corey, and Oppenheimer if anybody reaches Bates. That's how the Judges come to bat. Here in the top of the 5th, UMass Boston leading 3-1.
And this is a great spot if you're Brandeis. Going down 3-0 in the bottom of the first, we thought this could be a really rough game after the 2 errors. But Brandeis has settled in. They've played pretty good defense, made a couple nice plays. Sean O'Neill was able to get out of a bases-loaded jam in his last inning of work. And they've kept this Beacons team that had 20 runs on 23 hits the other day in check for the most part. The Beacons with just 5 hits on 3 runs. It'll be interesting to see if UMass Boston can get another one of those big innings like they had the other day where they had 5 runs in 3 separate innings against LaSalle College.
1-2 the count. Here's the pitch to Ziegler. That one missed low. Count even up at 2-2.
Right down the middle, but unable to get it high enough.
Here's the pitch. Grounded towards second. Murphy room service up. 1 down.
Yeah, every time that Dave Murphy gets hit a ball, I'm just interested to see how he attacks it. Playing a new position, a position that he probably hasn't played in years, as he was a shortstop at his time at Massasoit Community College and his first year plus at UMass Boston. It's interesting to see if he's confused or maybe just doesn't take the right angle, but thus far he's looked pretty comfortable. Hasn't had to make a phenomenal play yet, but still, I mean, you need him to make those plays, replacing a guy like Josh Lopez, who is one of the Beacons' best defenders, although doesn't quite have the same pop in his bat as Murphy does.
Here's the 1-0. Off the foot of Corey and Fowl. If you missed any of this game, you want to see the recap or follow the Beacons as they make their Florida trip, you can follow UMass Boston Athletics on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram with the handle UMass Beacons.
And we'll have live stats from all the Beacons games down in Florida, either from our statistician crew or from one of the road teams.
The 1-1 from Corey, or to Corey, pardon me, is low for a ball. Mike Corey walked once. He also flew out to left. He also had an outstanding play in the field, nabbing a line drive at third base, coming back across his body.
That was big. It kept the Beacons from scoring a run in that inning. They left the bases loaded. So I think they said that one hit off the foot of Corey.
Gottesman almost threw down to first anyway, just to make sure. And now as Corey's fouled a couple off, McCormick's going to go out and discuss how they want to handle this. I will say this for the Judges. They've taken a lot of pitches. They've extended at-bats. They've made these Beacons' arms go deep into counts.
Well, I think this team is a team that's coming off a 6-21 season, but I think it's a team that has a plan. Under head coach Derek Carlson, it's so tough playing the UAA.
Hughie on the ground ball, and there are 2 down.
With teams that are so talented, Emory's a consistent top 5, top 10 team in the country. The University of Chicago typically has pretty good sports. So does Washington University of St. Louis. Even Rochester has some really strong teams. NYU's not as consistent, and that's only a smattering of some of the schools in that conference. But if you're Brandeis, you need to build a team that's going to get an at-large bid. Which means that you need to be able to compete with the top teams in New England and win a lot of those non-conference games in addition to maybe getting a 500 record in that conference. So bringing in a 14-member freshman class and having 15 sophomores, this team is building young, they're resetting, they're trying to build a winning culture, and that's going to take a little bit of time, but I've liked what I've seen from their underclassmen today.
The 0-1 to Oppenheimer. That just missed.
Yeah, I think both teams, some of the hitters have been a little frustrated. We've seen quite a few strikeouts looking. That was one where I think the pitcher was probably a little bit more frustrated.
Another ground ball to short. Hughie has to charge on the run. Got him. Charlotte Hughie, the charging play on the ground ball, retires the side. 1-2-3, the judges go in the fifth. Halfway through this one, it's UMass Boston 3, Brandeis 1. Keep it here. You're watching UMass Boston Baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
I came from a working class family. I grew up in a hot-edge section of Lowell, Massachusetts, and I lived with my 6 siblings and my parents in a 4-bedroom house that had 1 bathroom. I knew that the only way that I was going to get to where I wanted to get to was if I got a high-quality college education, and I had the University of Massachusetts right in my hometown. It made a difference. I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I think with that comes a special responsibility as a steward, as a protector. Every student that I see that walks through the door, I mean, I see myself. I was exactly where they are now. I had their same challenges, their same aspirations, their same dreams. And it makes me want to fight for them. It makes me want to make sure that they get every opportunity that I got. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
Back out for a second in work, Greg Tobin took care of the Beacons 1-2-3 in the fourth, pair of strikeouts, but now he has to deal with the meat of the order. It's going to be Boudris, Murphy, and Fowler. If anybody reaches Herzog, Boudris reached on an error and scored in the first. He also grounded out to short, lifts this one into center. Frey gets a late read on it. Now he comes over and makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out.
A rare fly ball there that ends up being caught by the center fielder. This is another interesting inning. If you're UMass Boston, you'd love to push this lead at least back to 3. Right now, Brandeis has all the momentum in their hands. It's cold. It's not fun baseball weather, but if you're Brandeis as a team that's playing against the number 3 team in the country, you're pretty happy with where you are, and the onus is on UMass Boston to put the pressure back on this young Judges team.
5 consecutive set down now by Greg Tobin with some help from Sean O'Neill. 3 of those are strikeouts as that one's fouled back. This is Dave Murphy. Reached on an error and scored, and he lined out to third. Got absolutely robbed by Mike Corey as he fouls another one off. 1-2 the count. Tobin gets a sign he likes, kicks and deals. Catcher was set up outside. That pitch stayed outside. Count evens at 2-2.
Yeah, I think Murphy's looking for a pitch that he can drive. Especially the right fielder is very far in right now playing the wind.
Wanted that one. Perfect chance to poke it the other way, but a bit too far out. That's back-to-back off-speed pitches on the outside part of the plate. See if they come back inside. Maybe something up-tempo. Hall sets up outside again. Ground ball to third. Corey on the move. And there's 2 down.
Yeah, UMass Boston's trying to make these pitchers work, but they're not doing a good enough job. And right now it's up to Fowler to avoid allowing this Brandeis reliever to have another easy inning as the Beacons offense, with the exception of that 1 3-hit inning back in the third and the 3-run inning in the first, have been very quiet in 3 of their 5 frames thus far.
That one runs in and hits him. Fowler wears it on the shoulder.
Well, it's going to help the old OBP as Fowler is now reached in 3 trips to the plate. It's up to Nick Herzog to do something at this point.
It's worse places to get hit.
Yeah, nowhere's fun to get hit today.
Yeah.
I don't think that pitch was thrown all that hard, but just the cold along with the sting of the baseball is not going to feel good.
Looks like that one got away from him at half the spin on it. Here's Nick Herzog. He's 2 for 2 as an RBI. First pitch is outside. Looks like that was a pitch out with Fowler on first. There's the 0-1. It's a bunt.
Love
with
it.
2 outs. That's a great bunt. Quick turn and fire is cut off by the second baseman.
That is not where the pitcher intended to throw that ball. Craig Tobin got really lucky that Ziegler was coming over.
Threw it right to him.
Yeah, otherwise that ball ends up in right field, and Fowler's going to be at third base, potentially even scoring. As that's a great decision by Nick Herzog. The third baseman, Corey's playing way behind the bag. The pitcher, Tobin, slow to get over. And now we might see a change for Brandeis, or at least a conversation. They try to avoid allowing the Beacons to push this lead out even further.
That was a great bunt, too. You can't place it any better than that.
Well, it was a really nice decision, and Corey was very late to adjust. Tobin, it's difficult as a pitcher, especially left-handed pitcher, to get down on that ball. And the nice thing is you know that Tobin's not throwing it all that hard, so all you have to do is just get the bat head out. This will be interesting. Ryan McCormick, who was an extra base hitting machine as a pinch hitter last season, especially with 2 outs, has a chance to potentially help himself and help his team right here. 2 on and 2 down. The Beacons have already left a lot of base runners thus far today. 4 through the first 3 frames, 4 overall.
First pitch to McCormick is the ball. Nobody warming up for the judges, so they're going to ride or die here with Craig Tobin.
Now, the Beacons are currently throwing in the bullpen, but it's only a football, so it's probably Ben Gottesman's game for the moment as well.
Here's the 1-0. Watches it by for a strike. 1-1 now, the count to McCormick. Sun's starting to set. It's going to get difficult. First base, right field. Sun setting behind the third base bag, behind the visitor's dugout. You see the long shadows on the field. This is hit past the glove of the lunging Ziegler. It gets into right field. It's going to score a run. 1 across. Holding at third is Herzog. It's Fowler across the plate. And RBI single for Ryan McCormick. The Beacons get the 1 back. It's 4-1.
And that's so big from McCormick. He didn't hit it. He didn't hit it in a perfect spot, but he hit it hard enough to get past Ziegler. It's a big spot for Pinales, who had a really bad at-bat, over swinging with the bases loaded back in the third. He just needs to be a little bit more patient. Doesn't have to hit the ball out of the park right here. Ball to the outfield, should score another run.
That pitch is high and inside to Wanderson Pinales. He's been up twice. He struck out twice. We've seen some out-of-the-park swings from him. Herzog on third, McCormick on first. They're going to check on the Beacons catcher. He's back in time.
Big spot right now if you're Tobin and Brandeis. Don't want to see this lead stretch out any further here in the 5th.
The 1-0. Big swing and a miss again from Pinales. Remember, there are 2 quick outs from Tobin. He got the first batter with 1 pitch, but then he hit Fowler. Herzog laid an excellent bunt down the third base line. And then McCormick with the single into center field. Here's the 1. Nope. And they caught him. McCormick to second. And he's out. The Beacons are saying the ball may have dropped out. At least I hear one voice saying that. Everybody else in agreement. So the Beacons will strand 1 on 2 hits. They do get a run. No errors in the inning. We played 5 full. It's UMass Boston 4 and Brandeis 1. You're watching UMass Boston Baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
What do we mean when we say UMass is here for a reason? We mean that the 5-campus UMass system is the only public research university that the people of Massachusetts established to create better futures for themselves, but also for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a whole. It's a university that educates 73,000 students every day and graduates 17,000 graduates every year. We are the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We're one of the state's 3 major academic research engines: research that saves and improves people's lives, and research that drives the innovation economy of Massachusetts. We provide services and economic opportunity to every region of the Commonwealth. The noted historian David McCullough once said that 2 great concepts, university and Massachusetts, come together in only one place, and we are very aware of how fortunate we are to bear the name the University of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
Top of inning number 6 here in Boston as we move along. We had, a half an hour first inning?
Yeah,
moving
I think
pretty
it was
well
35
since then,
minutes.
knock on wood. But take a look back in case you missed any of it. UMass Boston 4, Brandeis 1. Chris Fowler's been the guy. And not that anybody's surprised. It's that excellent game at the plate. Burgos as well. Limited action, got that pitch count up, probably to come out an inning or two earlier than they would have liked, but even with the high pitch count, he was effective while he was in there.
Yeah, Fernando Burgos did exactly what UMass Boston wanted out of him. Pitched effectively. He was in more trouble than he would have liked, and the Beacons coaching staff would have liked, but he didn't give up any runs. Had a nice couple of comeback innings where he gave up some early base runners, and the strikeouts were there with 4 through 3 frames.
Charlie Hughey been busy.
Ben
Retires a man on the ground out there.
Ben Gottesman's done a great job since coming in. Has been throwing strikes, has been pitching to contact. The innings have been moving quickly, and unlike Burgos and Frashino, who struggle with their control a little bit, Gottesman's not getting behind in counts. He's making the Brandeis hitters beat him, and thus far they really struggled as Gottesman, through his first 3 1/3 innings here in 2018, has allowed just 1 hit, no earned runs. That's a good recipe for earning a spot in the Beacons bullpen for the rest of the season.
Just this game alone. So faced 4 batters. They've all grounded out. The last 3 to the shortstop. First one was to second. Fouled off the plate, quickly 0-2.
Exactly what you want. That's exactly what you want. A little bit of change of velocity, putting the ball in a good spot, and right now the Brandeis hitters who were so patient against Burgos and even against Frashino, recognizing the lack of control, they can't do that here against Gottesman.
And that breaking ball just missed. You have to show me where.
He's had a couple, I think that was a curveball where they dove down to what looks like a good level for a strike, and the home plate umpire just has not given him that. Otherwise, he'd have a couple strikeouts instead of groundouts.
1-2 popped up behind us. McCormick giving chase. Wasn't going to get there. One and 2 the count. 1 out, nobody on. For Isaac Fawcett, who is 1 for 2. He singled and scored in the 4th. That was the lone Brandeis run. Swing and a miss, strike 3. First strikeout of the game for Ben Gottesman, and there's 2 down.
Well, Ben Gottesman, it's been phenomenal. This is a guy who had under 6 innings as a freshman, and already he's closing in on the 4-inning mark. I'm not sure if the Beacons have anyone warming. This could be a 3, or at least the start of a 3-inning performance for Gottesman, as he's probably going to be able to start that 3rd inning of work. Don't know how many pitches he's thrown. 21 pitches. So this is just a great sign if you're UMass Boston. It allows guys like Joe McGuire and Bobby Tramandozzi to not necessarily have to work as hard early in the season. It allows Brian Kaufman, who I think is back out there in the bullpen, a chance to really relax before the Beacons start playing some higher pressure games.
Ground ball to the second baseman, Murphy, moving to his left, fields it cleanly, and retires the side. 6 outs by Ben Gottesman against 6 batters, 5 by way of the ground out. In the 6th, no hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left on base. We have played 5.5 in Boston. It's UMass Boston 4, Brandeis 1. Keep here, you're watching UMass Boston baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Back in Boston, a beautiful view of the downtown skyline, only growing. As Wanderson Pinellas digs in, he was 1-1 last time up before Ryan McCormick got caught stealing. Shows bunt, pulls back. It's ball one. It will be Pinellas. We have a pinch hitter on deck. Kyle Penny, the catcher, will bat second. And then Charlie Hughey right back to the mound. Tobin fields it on a hop, underhands to first, one down.
And this isn't a big surprise with Penny pinch hitting for Anthony Sesteri, who hasn't looked all that good today, especially his first at bat against Tobin. The Beacons are going to try to get a different look against Tobin, and Penny's another guy the Beacons want to get at bats. He's hit really well during preseason. Had an at bat the other day against LaSalle as a pinch hitter, and a guy who might vie for some DH at bats if he doesn't end up earning the starting role as a catcher this season.
Swings and misses that one. Count goes to 1-1. Penny played in just 3 games last year, had 8 at-bats, did not record a hit.
Just a little bit too elongated on those swings as he's struggling right now to catch up to Tobin's fastball.
1-2 the count. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Got him with the fastball. 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, Penny's going to have to work in the cage there. He's just a little bit long in that swing. He needs to shorten up a little bit to make some contact. And Tobin really, with the exception of that little 2-out rally from the Beacons in the 5th, has been extremely effective in coming on for O'Neill, who gave up 3 unearned runs. The Beacons have just 1 earned run in this contest.
First pitch is a ball to Hughey. 0 for 2, 2 ground outs. Trying to get it back to the top of the order here in the 6th. And he cannot do that. Line drive right to short. And Oppenheimer makes the play. It is another 1-2-3 inning back-to-back. No hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left on base. 6 in the books. We head to the final 3. It's UMass Boston 4, Brandeis 1 here on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Welcome back to Moden Park for the start of the 7th inning. It will be the bottom 3, Dan O'Leary, Luke Hall, Connor Sheehan, to face Ben Gottesman, who's on for his 3rd inning, has just 23 pitches. And he allows his first hit. He had gotten 3 groundouts to the shortstop, and that one just gets by Charlie Hughey.
That's the broadcaster's jinx of talking 6 up, 6 down. That's a nice piece of hitting, though, from Brandeis, recognizing the fact that Gottesman, it's consistently first pitch strikes, isn't working behind, recognizing he was probably going to get a pitch over the plate and attacking that first pitch fastball.
That pitch is low inside of Luke Hall. The Brandeis catcher is 1 for 2. So we take a look at what the Beacons have coming up during this mound visit. They got one more home game It's against MIT tomorrow. And then they head down to Florida for their spring break trip. They will play 7 games down there. For returning home, they will take on Roger Williams right here at Monin Park on March 20th. They won't play their first true road game as scheduled until March 22nd.
And even some of those road games might end up being home games depending on the playability of other teams' fields.
1-0 is up and in. When they get back from that road trip, they'll play 3 of 5 on the road. And at one point, 6 of 7 between the end of March and the beginning of April. Popped up. Right side out of play. And that actually becomes more games. That 6 of 7 becomes 8 of 9 when you include conference doubleheaders.
Well, the nice thing about this Beacons team is that they have so many veteran players back who've not only won Little East Conference regular season title, a Little East Conference tournament title, they've been to 2 straight NCAA regionals. They're not intimidated of being on the road. They know what they're out there for, and I think a big thing that this team's focusing on is hosting another LEC tournament. Last year was great winning on the road, but playing at home, getting to sleep in your own bed, that's a big thing. And the Beacons would love to not have to make the long trek up to Gorham, Maine, where you have to worry about are there lights or not. Are you going to have to play the next morning to finish off a game, which was the case twice last year during the LEC tournament, just for UMass Boston alone.
Count goes full on Luke Hall. Runner on first is O'Leary. Nobody out. Top of the 7th. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Fouled out of play.
Great at bat by O'Leary. One of just 2 guys on this starting lineup who are not true freshmen. Granted, O'Leary and Oppenheimer are sophomores. Those are the veterans of this team right now. But he's done a nice job here against Gottesman.
That is lined into center field. Coming in, laying out, cannot make the catch. It's off the glove of Rogers. He's lucky he got a piece of that. If that ball rolls, we may be looking at a 1-run ball game.
I think Rogers knew the whole entire way that he was going to get to that. I think he was just a little bit confused as to how he didn't end up with it. As he was looking in his glove for a while. Hughie did a nice job of backing him up there. But back-to-back base runners to start an inning. This is a really good start for the Judges here, down by 3.
And we talked off the air, set them between innings, that this should be Oppenheimer's inning if it's clean. But now back-to-back
Gottesman's inning.
Gottesman's inning. But now the Beacons are getting some pitchers warming. Gottesman has faced 8 batters, retired the first 6, has allowed the last 2 to reach. And is this a meeting or a change? Let's see. Looks like it could be both as they're buying a little bit of extra time.
Let's take a look right now at that last highlight as Joey Rogers nearly made the play. You see Rogers just barely, that ball bounced off there.
Looks like they might need some more time. Might not end up being a change. It's not. So they are going to let Gottesman try to work his way out of this.
But I think we're going to change for Brandeis. Yes. Tim Lopez, who's listed as a right-handed pitcher and a right-handed hitter, is going to step in as a left-handed hitter. So this is a little strange.
This is so. They're telling us it's Donnie Weiss.
Well, I don't see on the roster. Oh, the umpire was signaling that it was number 20 who was pinch hitting.
And he lays down a bunt to throw to third. They get the lead runner. Excellent heads-up play by Gottesman. Now I think they're saying it was a foul ball. That's what they're going to do. They're going to send Weiss back to the plate.
I think they're going to say it's catcher interference. Oh, no. They are going to send him backwards. All right, so let's see if we can see anything on our replay that would indicate it was a foul ball.
So it's just a foul ball.
We don't have a good angle. We had the same angle you had at home. So maybe it's... All right,
Oh, they're going to call
batter
interference. All right.
So Beacons break. So there's 1 out and still 2 on. The runners have to retreat. A lot of confusion going on up here in the booth. It's just game number 2.
Beacons end up, though, with the same situation, just different runners as Scott Ziegler steps in. The leadoff hitter for Brandeis is 0 for 3. He's grounded out 3 times, twice to second, once back to the mound. He fouls this one off.
Well, that's huge because it's not really a bunting situation at this point. If you bunt here and you try to move the base runners up, A, you know Gottesman's pretty good at fielding as he was able to retire the runner at third if not for the batter's interference. But also, B, runners at second and third with 2 outs is nowhere near as good as with 1 out.
Ground ball too short. Hughie to second for 1 on to first. In time, double play. 6-4-3 they go. And out of the jam, Ben Gottesman. He goes 3 scoreless in the inning. 2 hits, no runs, no errors. 1 man left on base. Stretch time at Monon Park. Get up and sing, Seth. It is Beacons 4, Judges 1 on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
I don't think you want to hear me sing.
UMass is very public service focused, and it piqued my interest, and I started doing more research on it. I'm very focused on what can I do to make the world around me a better place. My name is Lydia Grasso. I'm a junior at UMass Boston studying sociology and minoring in human rights. What I want to do is I want to work with women and children transitioning out of sexual slavery in Southeast Asia and helping them to find jobs, find housing, provide counseling, just the things that we kind of take for granted. Because I won the Chancellor Scholarship at UMass, it allowed me to go to Cambodia.
So we'll give you another second here to Google our trivia question. What Brandeis alum tried to buy the Patriots, doing the Patriots before settling on buying the Eagles? Seth knows, I know. Let's let you know now if you haven't figured it out yet. Seth, I know you're dying to say it. I'll let you do the honors.
It's Brandeis alum Jeffrey Lurie, a PhD graduate back in 1987. Have to give him big props. Very happy that he wasn't successful in buying the New England Patriots. It's one
Trust me,
title in Philadelphia means a lot. Right now we'll take a look at that last highlight. A great turn at second base, a 6-4-3 double play, and that inning could have gone in such a better way for the Judges if not for the batter's interference followed by the double play turned by a pair of shortstops up the middle. And what a difference that inning could have made for this game.
Joey Rogers swings and misses at the first pitch. Beacons on their 4th time through the order. Rogers with the golden sombrero. He's 0 for 3 strikeouts.
But he's out there because of his defense as much as anything else. The Beacons think he can hit.
Chops this one back towards the mound. And up to play, field his position is Tobin. He retires Rogers, who finally put the ball in play.
Yeah, not the greatest first offensive game for Rogers. He's made a couple plays out there in center. With Frashino pitching today, the Beacons needed that kind of defense from Rogers. Now if you're UMass Boston, can you put this game away? Brandeis just had their best chance to really open this game up and get back into it, and they weren't able to do so. Can UMass Boston, with the heart of their order, put this game away? They've led by 3 for most of the contest. Can they stretch this lead out to 4, 5, even 6 runs?
Boudris takes a first pitch strike. Beacon's third baseman is 0 for 2. He did reach on an error and come around to score. Quickly falls behind 0-2 here. Greg Tobin, who came in relief. He's just the second pitcher the Judges have used through 3 1/3. Has allowed 2 hits, just 1 run. It was earned. He struck out 3. No walks today for the Beacons.
Yeah, Sean O'Neill and Greg Tobin pitched well. They've done a really nice job against the Beacons team that hit the ball oh so well against LaSalle.
Actually, I believe no walks either way.
Fernando Burgos definitely issued 1 or 2. early in the game.
He did too, but really haven't been any in a while.
Just impressive considering how cold it is. Seen a lot of pitchers struggle with their control.
1-2 is waved at and missed. Strike 3, and Boudreaux is sent down on strikes. Didn't get the pitch he was looking for there.
Bit of an eephus pitch there. That ball just kind of floating up there, and Boudreaux well out in front. Tobin's been really, really strong. We've seen great relief pitching from both Tobin and Gottesman. I think that's probably it for Ben after getting out of a little bit of a jam. Beacons had both Chris Monroe and Joe McGuire warming up before the start of the last half inning.
First pitch to Dave Murphy is a ball. Murphy 0 for 2, reached and scored on an error. And that one's in there for a strike. That is 46 pitches from Tobin. Like you mentioned, Seth, he has started at times. Does have the ability to eat up some innings. This is hit hard but foul.
We talked about the Beacon schedule. Brandeis, they're at Salem State, another turf facility tomorrow. Then they play Bowdoin at the Northborough Complex on Saturday, and Western New England on Sunday on a pair of turf fields. So we could see Tobin potentially start over the weekend.
Popped up high over the second baseman. He bobbles it and lost it. Ziegler lost it in the sun and popped right out of his glove.
Well, that is the easiest hit/error call.
I don't need to ask you that one.
And that extends another inning. The Beacons have done almost all of their damage today with 2 outs. Scored their lone run back in the 5th, and I think at least 2 of their runs in the 1st. The rally in the 1st should never have happened.
So the runs in the 1st were actually scored with just 1 out. But remember, it was 2 errors that started that. So the Beacons have been on borrowed time quite a bit. And that's why they teach the kids 2 hands on the ball.
A lot of wind, a lot of sun. He's wearing the sunglasses, but Ziegler just couldn't hold on.
Throw over to first, and Murphy's back in time. The new batter is Fowler. He's 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs. He was also hit by a pitch and scored. He's having himself a nice day.
Well, this is a guy who had a 37-game hit streak last year. He doesn't care what the conditions are. Just a nice, solid approach at the plate. He's done pretty much all the Beacons' damage. 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 RBI, reached 3 times.
Here's the 1-0. Watches that one go low and away. Count evens up. 1 run on 6 hits for the Judges, who have committed 3 errors. 4 runs on 7 hits for the Beacons. They have a clean sheet thus far in the field. Here's the 2-0. Fowler watched that one all the way in. He must have had a red light on that one because that was a great pitch to hit. Count moves to 2-1. Tobin comes set. Lefty checks to first, and he's going to throw that way. Nobody home. Wind has died down a bit. Still a presence, though. Here's the 2-1. Fowler watches up and away. Nick Herzog on deck with 2 outs, hoping to get a chance.
I think this is a dangerous spot for Tobin. You don't want to give Fowler anything too good to hit. He's going to look for a gap.
The 2-2. Struck him out. Oh, no, that's strike 2. Had the count wrong. Sorry about that.
Nice 3-1 pitch that Fowler was looking probably for something on the inside half. Didn't get it, and he was holding off there.
Here's the 3-2. Ground ball. Foul down the first baseline. Late call.
Nick Herzog did not agree with the call, but the rest of the Beacons bench didn't seem to be too adamant one way or another.
And you have Mike Collier out there behind the pitcher's mound with the runner on in the 2-umpire system, so it's Stephen Williams' call from behind the plate. He has to see around the runner and had to step all the way out, and maybe that's why the call was delayed. He was looking at Collier for confirmation. The payoff pitch. Inside ball 4. First walk for the Beacons today. And Chris Fowler is on for the 4th time.
Well, Fowler has taken 9 trips to the plate, and he's reached 7 times this season. Not a bad start to the year for a guy who was named a preseason All-American. He's been really calm, hasn't tried to do too much, and a big reason why the Beacons are ahead 4-1 today.
This is Nick Herzog, the left fielder. Herzog pops it straight up. Catcher settling under at Hall to the netting, and it goes up 3 rows into the stands. Between Fowler and Hall, they are a combined 6 for 6. They've gotten on base 7 out of 7 times. 3 RBIs and 2 runs scored.
You mean Herzog?
What did I say?
Hall.
That was the catcher, Fowler and Herzog. I don't know what is up with me today. I apologize.
It's post nor'easter conditions.
It really is. It's both. Pre and post nor'easter as Tobin steps off.
It's also early for baseball broadcasters as well. Got to get into the feel. Very different than the winter sports here in New England.
Here's the 0-1. That one just missed. Breaking ball, trying to catch that upper outside corner.
Tobin's got some really funky off-speed pitches. Takes a ton off the velocity, gets really good movement. And that was very similar to the pitch that Boudris swung on and missed.
The 1-1 from Tobin. Fouled straight back. 1-2 the count to Herzog. 3 hits, 3 singles, 1 RBI. He has been stranded twice and once was on the wrong end of a fielder's choice. Here's the 1-2. Got it off the handle of the bat and pops it foul behind the Beacons dugout. We'll go 1-2 again. Bottom of the 7th. Beacons leading 4-1. Their second game of the year. It is the opener for the Judges. And they're going to bring out some more baseballs.
It's another one of those tough spots for Brandeis, recognizing how well the Beacons have hit with 2 outs. And despite being behind in the count, Herzog's a very good 2-strike hitter, a guy who came out with a ton of clutch hits last season, including a couple of walk-off hits for UMass Boston. Just wants to keep it simple here. Lace a line drive over the head of an infielder, should score a run.
This one's hit into left field. Park will hold it. Wind's going to help. Coming in is Sheehan. Not Sheehan. There was a sub. Weiss makes the catch. So, Beacons strand 2 without a hit. No runs and 1 error in the inning. As we head to the 8th, it's UMass Boston 4, Brandeis 1 on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
UMass Boston is founded on a notion of impact. The Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development is a place where faculty and students can take a lot of the concepts and ideas that we are teaching in the classroom and take them into the field and actually make a difference. Beyond our work in Boston, we have projects in Nigeria, Israel, Palestine, Northern Ireland, South Africa, Ecuador, Colombia. Through our work in the field with a lot of important actors like the U.S. State Department, with the U.S. Agency for International Development, with the United Nations, I think we've gained a reputation as a place that can help a lot of these actors solve their problems and can get things done, and also that have a student body that they want to hire when they finish working with us. Nigeria may seem, it is, a world away from Boston, but many of the things that I've learned in dealing with Muslim-Christian peace efforts is tremendously relevant for situations here in Boston and other parts of the United States. Dealing with issues between police and youth, or police and immigrant communities, and that's a lot of what we do. Creating networks of relationships where people can work out their problems and can find better solutions than the ones that violence offers. Because in the end, we're all in this together. We only thrive when we work on these sorts of
Joe McGuire will be the new pitcher for the Beacons. He is in relief of Ben Gottesman, who threw 3 strong innings, did not allow a run, did allow 2 hits, had to get out of a jam in the last inning. He struck 1 man out, did not issue a walk. And now we will see McGuire, the junior right-hander from Peabody, Massachusetts, pitched quite a bit last season in 2017 through 32 innings in 18 relief appearances, a 1.38 ERA. And he did pick up a pair of saves, and I believe he pitched against LaSalle as well, Seth.
3 up, 3 down. He and Bobby Tremendozzi both had perfect innings after neither team had many perfect innings through the first 7 frames. McGuire will come on here probably to pitch an inning. The Beacons could throw either Chris Monroe or Bobby Tremendozzi, 2 of their late inning guys from a season ago. McGuire's a guy who has some very good velocity behind that 6-foot frame, but another guy who pitches pretty well with his off-speed stuff, gets a lot of good movement, and another guy who attacks the strike zone. That's what UMass Boston likes out of the relievers, guys who aren't going to issue a lot of free passes.
First pitch is in there to a strike to Mike Corey. Corey is 0 for 2 with the walk. After him, Oppenheimer and Bates, if anybody reaches Fossas.
This is a big spot for Brandeis. 2-3-4 here in the 8th. Probably the last chance for their middle of the order, trailing 4-1.
And quickly, Corey is behind 0-2 to McGuire. Number 25 facing number 25.
Beacons on the verge of getting that first ever win at Monin Park against Brandeis, a team that's given them some real troubles.
6 outs away as that pitch is outside. Maybe trying to see how Corey would react on the 0-2, see if he comes back inside.
A lot of room to work with at 0-2. Daniel Gamble electing to try to get the batter to chase.
Catcher sets up low and away. The pitch is low and away, but it misses the strike zone. Count goes to 2-2.
And that's another chase pitch. Just trying to see, remember with all of these freshmen, 7 of them in the starting lineup, you wonder about plate discipline. You wonder about will they get a little frustrated.
This one's fouled off.
For the most part, I think Brandeis has done a really nice job in their offensive attack. Despite trailing 4-1, they do have 6 hits on the day. Those 3 unearned runs in the first innings, obviously the difference in this contest.
Here's the 2-2. Ground ball in the hole between second and first. On top of it is Murphy. And I think it went up into his jersey.
I don't know if it caught his jersey. I think it just got stuck there, and he was just frustrated. Initially, I was a little worried. Initially, a little worried that he might have pulled something, but just a little bit frustrated he couldn't make the play. So that is a leadoff single for the judges.
And now we'll bring up Victor Oppenheimer, the shortstop. He's 0 for 2.
And that's one of those plays that Josh Lopez probably makes just because he's a little faster, a little bit more limber. But Murphy got there, just couldn't quite make the play in time. I mean, there's going to be some plays that Murphy's not able to make that Josh Lopez was able to make. There's also going to be some hits that Murphy's going to come through with that Lopez doesn't have the same kind of power that we'll see out of Dave Murphy, especially once it heats up.
One other change we should have mentioned, Eddie Riley into the game at third base. The senior replaces Kyle Boudris. Here's the 1-1. Misses inside.
Riley, a guy who can play second, short, third, and all 3 of the outfield spots. So a bit of a defensive upgrade right now on Boudris with the 3-run lead. A little bit faster than Boudris.
And if all goes well for the Beacons, that's Boudris' second spot in the order would not come up again.
Well, if it does, it's probably a good thing if you're UMass Boston.
That is true.
And really, if the Beacons needed to, they could pinch hit for Riley, who had an RBI triple the other day. So his bat looked pretty good against LaSalle.
2-2 to Oppenheimer, misses. And a long look in from McGuire after that one.
There have been quite a few pitches that have not missed by much. It's been a bit of an erratic strike zone this afternoon.
Payoff pitch, runner goes, it's fouled off. Corey took off with the pitch.
Brandeis has just the 1 stolen base on 1 attempt. But on that attempt, McCormick would have had the base runner if not throwing the ball to the wrong side of the bag. Could potentially be a strike him out, throw him out situation if McGuire is able to push the ball past Oppenheimer here.
This one is grounded to second. Easier play for Murphy. Looks to second, realizes he doesn't have it, and throws to first for the out. Too slow to be a double play ball, but Beacons will trade base position for outs at this point.
Smart play by Murphy. Recognized that the base runner was already past him. Didn't even look to second base once he fielded the ball. Nice job by Oppenheimer there. Obviously, you're looking to push that ball past the second baseman, but at least he's able to advance the runner. With one out now, you're looking to potentially drive in the base runner here if you're Darren Bates, the designated hitter. Difficult if you're Brandeis to get a big inning because you're going to have to go station to station. The wind is just blowing in so hard today that it's going to be difficult to put anything over the head of an outfielder. It's only happened once today, and that was when Wanderson Penales made a great job of running down a ball hit out to right center. Beacons have had one extra base hit, but that was a shot by Fowler that went over the head of the shortstop and rolled close to the warning track. Everything has been in front of the outfield on both sides today.
Here is the 2-0 to Bates. Pops it up. That should stay in. Riley coming over from third. He'll make the play right on the edge of the brown turf. And there are 2 down.
It's important using those 2 hands. We saw Ziegler drop
That's
it.
Right.
First, it's not an easy first play to make if you're Eddie Riley, and he's able to track it down in foul territory. A big second out.
You see now most of the infield is in the shade. As the sun continues to set, we inch towards the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour here in Boston. The Beacons with a 4-0 lead with 2 outs in the top of the 8th. First pitch is inside and low to Isaac Fossas. Fossas has scored the lone Judge's run of the game. That came back in the 4th off a single. He struck out twice around that.
Oh, it's funny. The conversation on Wednesday and all weekend was about how good this Beacons offense could be.
This one is popped, third base. Side Riley up the wall. Oh, we almost had that. Eddie Riley trying to climb the fence.
Now let's try to take a second look at that one just for the hustle alone. As Riley nearly made a Spider-Man catch.
I'm not sure he needed to climb the wall to get to that. He may have been able to just wait there and jump.
I don't know. I think it was pretty high up there. We'll let the video decide one way or another.
Stands at 6 feet. Eddie Riley does. 1-1 the count to Isaac Fossas. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball. That one had a lot of movement on it. Works its way well outside. Count goes to 2-1 from Joe McGuire. Mike Corey led the inning off with a single. Victor Oppenheimer grounded out to second. That moved Corey over. Bates then popped out, fouled out to the third baseman Riley. And now we have a 3-1 count on Isaac Fossas.
Well, going back to my previous point, we talked about the Beacons offense and how they were hitting really well in their scrimmages and how they were putting up all these runs and all these hits. And I don't think we're taking anything away from the Beacons with the slightly lower run output today. That pitch looked right down the middle, but apparently a little high. But the Beacons pitching staff has done such a nice job through the first, well, we're 16, almost 17 innings through if McGuire can get out of this mini jam. They've given up just the 2 runs. They haven't issued many free passes. They've used their defense well. This Beacons pitching staff is showing that they have a chance to be really good for a second consecutive season. Last year, a 3.08 ERA, good for top 10 in the country.
So just like that, the Judges, though, with the tying run at the plate, it's Dan Fry. Fry is 1 for 3, has an RBI double. And he takes ball 1. This is one of the, as we have talked about, one of the many freshmen in the lineup. In a big spot here in his first career collegiate game. Watches it go off the outside part for a strike. It is Corey on second. Fossas on first. 2 outs. Joe McGuire, the pitcher, trying to work his way out of the jam.
And this is McGuire's inning. I think it's Trey Mendoza who's just beginning to loosen up, but no one really warming up yet at this point for the Beacons. Still a nice little safety net for the Beacons junior, leading by 3 at this point.
McGuire gets to the 1-2 count. See if he tries to give him a chase or goes right at him here. Runners on second and first take their leads. 1-2 count, 2 outs. Top of the 8th inning. Tying run at the plate. Here's the pitch. Inside.
Another one of those pitches where Dan Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach, is trying to see if these Brandeis hitters will chase. And thus far, they've done a really nice job of avoiding that. There's a very large plane flying over Monon Park right now.
They've been going. That's the first one that I've heard. Here's the 2-2 pitch. He struck him out. Big swinging strikeout for Joe McGuire. Retires the side. Strands 2 in the 8th. Brandeis 1 hit. No runs, no errors. 2 men left on base. As the Beacons will come up with the last chance to add insurance, we'll leave you with the Dan McGuire strikeout through 7.5. It is Beacons 4, Judges 1 on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
My name is Kirsten Morrison, aka Keek. I'm a senior here at UMass. I'm in the Exercise Health Sciences program, and I play volleyball, basketball, and softball. I came here for volleyball, and I chose between basketball and softball, and I went with basketball my freshman year to play, and it's always kind of been a thing that I wanted to do is play softball my senior year, and after talking with Coach Dagg, she was like, yeah, come on the team, and I was like, all right, and here I am playing 3 sports this year. Being a Beacon, I don't even know if words can describe. Coming here as a freshman, I was a little nervous and scared, but I walked in these doors and they all had open arms. They showed me the ropes. The coaching staff, the athletic staff, the chancellor, the vice chancellors, everyone here is so welcoming, and I really can't stress enough about how much this is really.
Here we are in the bottom of the 8th, 6, 7, 8 for the Beacons. Ryan McCormick, Wanderson Pinellas, and Kyle Penny due up as the Beacons try to add some insurance to a 4-1 lead before they head out to try and win it. That first pitch is in there for a strike to McCormick, who is 2 for 3 in the game, and a fielder's choice in the first. Alex Barsetherensky with you from Monon Park, with the sun setting on the Boston skyline. Really just a fantastic backdrop here for an early March baseball game. This one gets away from Hall with nobody on. It's going to be interesting, Seth, this spring and really next spring. I grew up in Boston. I know you're a Philadelphia guy, but you've been here for a couple years now. And
just a few.
You go to games in Fenway as this is chopped foul, and you're so used. You see the Prudential, the Hancock, the R2-D2 building, and that's the skyline over right field. They're putting another building up there now. And it's going to completely change the skyline. It's going to be the 3rd tallest building in the city right next to the Hancock and Prudential. I've been looking at that same image for 23 years. It's totally throwing me off. And I'm going to have to get everybody in Boston is going to have to get all new T-shirts. We love our Skyline T-shirts here in the city, and everybody's going to be incorrect in a couple of years.
I prefer T-shirts with eagles on them.
I know you do. That's why I didn't bring that up. I was talking about baseball and Boston and buildings, and you have to bring it back to that.
No, I love the Boston skyline, but just like any city, it's going to change.
It has been years.
Well, and I'm not just doing this to rub it in, but in Philadelphia, the skyline changed, and William Penn was no longer the tallest point in the city. William Penn went back on top, and things changed in Philadelphia. I think the real story is, it shows that you're getting a little older and that you're wretched about the fact that things are changing, and it'll be okay.
I am being a grumpy old man. There's already one, and I forget the name of the building, but it's in the financial district skyline. That's over everything that wasn't there. But, yeah, I am being a grumpy old man about it a little bit. But I'll say this. As long as they leave the Citgo sign, I'm okay with it.
Well, I don't think that's changing anytime soon. They've tried to get it taken down a couple times, and the citizens of Boston University, where I'm an alum from, just said no because it is such an icon in the city of Boston, not just to Red Sox fans, but also to the people who live directly in the city. And I think you talk about change. There's going to be some big buildings built in the Seaport as well. I don't have a confirmation there, but with all these new.
No, they are putting some stuff up there.
Yeah, I mean all these new big time groups moving to Boston. Amazon's one of the rumored. GE's actually coming here. You're going to see some change in Boston one way or another, and you're going to have to build up because there's not any more room to build out, especially with some of the flooding that we've seen over the just last weekend alone. If anything, Boston's going to sort of have to recede away from the shoreline because the shoreline's just going to get higher and higher.
Well, in terms of the building and the expanding, this is fouled back. They're kind of taking the lead from you guys here at UMass Boston. When I started here 2 years ago, those buildings you see out in center field, they were partially there. They weren't done yet. Parking garage to our right was just a dirt lot. It was a hill. They've really built this campus, spectacular campus out here on Columbia Point that they've built up in the last 2 years or so, and I believe it's, another year until everything's said and done?
That's the goal.
Right. There's always a planned finish date and then a real finish date. But
first on-campus dorm set to open this fall as Pinellas fights it off. And those buildings made it through the weekend just barely with the high winds in the middle of a construction site. And, yeah, I mean, the parking garage is huge because the goal is to take away the D lot on campus and build a second dorm to continue to really provide as much stuff as possible for the students here on campus.
That one's grounded foul. This is Pinellas, by the way, who is 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. A long at-bat here against Greg Tobin, who has stayed in the game.
Tobin's been phenomenal. The Brandeis pitching, it hasn't been great over the years. Last year, team ERA 4.81, which isn't terrible for college baseball, but certainly stymied the Beacons last year, just giving up the one run. Brandeis always seems to play the Beacons tough.
Here's the 1-2. Inside, did that get a piece of him? Did it get Pinellas or the bat? It definitely hit something. They're going to say it hit Pinellas.
Well, I think the question from the Brandeis bench was, did he try to get out of the way? That's the old argument that certainly became more relevant a season ago when the point of emphasis was making sure batters were trying to get out of the way rather than just sitting there and taking it. And now we're going to see another Beacons junior college transfer, Reynaldo Moretta, for the first time in his collegiate career. He's going to be the third batter the Beacons have had in this DH spot, as Moretta is going to get a chance here to potentially drive in Pinellas. With Pinellas' speed, we saw him motor around the base pass the other day for an inside-the-park home run. Fisher College transfer has a chance to potentially pick up an RBI with an extra base hit.
Boston native, both plays the outfield and pitches. And he cranks this one into left field. Heading back on it is Sheehan, now coming in, and he will make the catch. If it's not windy, maybe.
Yeah, well, let's turn to Anthony Searles, who's played here for 2 years, and he gives a shake of the head. So that one had a good chance to get over.
That's at least off the wall, if not for the win.
Yeah, and that's a big reason why both teams have struggled to score today. The win. There have been quite a few balls that have been put in the air as this game has gone along, and that's one of the reasons why I think Tobin's been successful is Pinellas takes off and will easily steal second. Tobin doesn't pitch all that hard. He's pitching to contact, and the balls that have been hit hard off him have hung up, as that's given the judges a nice chance to stay in this game.
1-0 the count to Hughie, who is 0 for 3. He's not gotten the ball out of the infield yet. He's been busy at shortstop today, though, defensively.
Yeah, I think for UMass Boston, the three most important defensive spots are catcher, shortstop, and center field, which, again, that's pretty typical of most teams. But those are the three spots. They don't really care as much about how well those three spots hit because they have so much talent around the rest of their lineup. And Hughie's a guy who, if he hits 270 this year, it'll be a great season because he's going to provide great defense.
He does, though, have an 0 for 4 today with that ground out. Beacons working around a hit batter. No hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left on base as we make the turn for home in Boston. It's the Beacons 4 and the Judges 1. You're watching baseball on the Beacon Broadcast Network. Bobby Tramandozzi will come on to close things out for the Beacons. One of their main late inning guys last year. And Joe McGuire, through one inning, did not allow a run, got in a little bit of trouble there. Did allow a hit and a walk. Struck one out as well. Tramandozzi, to get things started, will face the 7, 8, and 9 hitters, O'Leary, Hall, and right now Donnie Weiss, but the judges have pinch hit in that spot last 2 times through. Judges need 3 to extend, 4 to take the lead.
It's not going to be easy against the guy who's going for his program record tying 8th save. Tramandozzi had 6 of them a season ago, 1 as a freshman. The other day against LaSalle, in a much less pressure situation, he struck out the side in the 9th to close out the game. Guy who wore down a little bit towards the end of last season. He pitched in, I think, 24 of 50 games, but who's been so good throughout his career. Pretty good velocity, great breaking stuff, and very good control. I feel like I'm a broken record, but that's really the case with a lot of these Beacons. As you saw the late motion, the late break on that pitch, just missing off the outside corner.
First pitch to Dan O'Leary is a ball. O'Leary is 2 for 3, couple of singles. Gets a hold of that one, but fouls it back.
This is one of the guys you want up there, one of your 2 sophomores in the lineup, guy who made a really nice defensive play to hold Fowler back in, was that the 3rd inning when the Beacons left the bases loaded?
Yes.
If you can remember 2 hours back.
Yes, I got the book. And Tramandozzi hits him, and O'Leary's on. Not how you want to start the 9th.
No, and there's absolutely no one warming up, so this is Tramandozzi's inning. Now Bobby's just got to settle down and focus on pitching to contact. Bobby's one of those guys who sometimes has issues with the long ball. That's not going to be an issue right now. It's going to be near impossible as we see the first base coach for Brandeis. A little bit slow to get over there for the 2nd time today.
Started the game like that, is going to end the game like that.
Well, potentially. I don't want to jinx anything, but I also don't want to say this game is over.
Come on, you guys were discussing which pitcher could get the win in between innings. This is chopped to 3rd. Could go a long way towards ending it to 2nd. 2 on to 1st. Double play. 5, 4, 3. They go to retire Luke Hall, and the Beacons are 1 out away from closing this thing out. Riley to Murphy to Fowler. And the bases are empty with 2 down for Donnie Weiss.
It's a real nice play from Riley. A short hop, and he's able to not only handle it, but get it over in plenty of time for Murphy. Made his job very easy.
Tramandozzi kicks and deals. First pitch is high for a ball.
Take a look at that replay after this pitch.
Sun has pretty much set, field in the shade. For the final inning, at least of regulation, Tramandozzi throws inside. That time, man able to get out of the way as Weiss scoots back. Hit a batter to start the inning. That was O'Leary, and then got Hall to ground into the double play. The 2-0 is outside again. I think we have another look.
We'll take it after this batter.
After this batter, all right. The 3-0 to Weiss. See if they let him swing. All right, down the pipe. Red light all the way. Here's another look.
Long look before the pitch. That's on me.
See everybody get set up. And it helped that that ball brought Riley towards the second base bag. He was able to take a hop that way, had his momentum going. It is a walk issued by Tramandozzi. So a hit batter, a ground ball double play, and then a walk. Sends it back to the top of the lineup, and Scott Ziegler. Ziegler grounded into a double play his last time up. This will be his 5th at-bat. He is 0 for 4 with 4 groundouts. He's been all over the place. 2 to the second baseman, 1 to the shortstop, and 1 back to the pitcher. Takes a strike there.
Terrific breaking ball from Tramandozzi. Struggled a little bit with his control. Big spot right here. Just pitch to contact. Sometimes it's harder said than done.
The 0-1 comes inside. That broke back in. Still called the ball, but an excellent pitch from Tramandozzi. He puts that another inch inside. He probably gets a strike on that.
Ziegler bailed out. I'm not sure if the umpire kind of gave up on the pitch. It's difficult to see exactly where it landed along the plate, but a very good breaking ball from Tramandosi, second straight.
The 1-1 grounded back to Tramandosi off of his glove. Murphy has it, not going to deter him, throws to first, and that will do it. The Beacons pick up their first win over the Judges at Monin Park. They pick up their second win of the year and improve to 2-0. While the Judges start their season off on the wrong foot, they fall to 0-1. Take a quick look at some of the highlights from this one, perhaps. We'll be back with the final stats and more. Final score from Monin Park, Beacons 4, Judges 1. We'll be right back on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
To put up some runs today.
The 0-2 breaks back in, called strike 3, and Bates is sent.
Their rotation in the first couple weeks of the season.
2 on, 2 out, the 1-2 pitch. Called strike 3, sit him down, Isaac Fossis. Back to 2 on, 1 out. Here's the pitch, hit into left field over the shortstop's head. That's going to score at least one. On his way home is Boudris. They're going to wave home Murphy as there's some trouble with that ball in left field. Murphy's going to score without a throw. It's a 2 RBI double for Chris Fowler, and the Beacons take the lead.
Yeah.
The payoff pitch. Hit back up the middle. Is this one going to hang up? Yeah, the wind killed it. They're giving Fowler the windmill. Here he comes. The throw is going to be cut off at the mound.
To the pen as Burgos has really settled in after that tough start.
Hit into right field, coming over, leaping up.
Had 2 players reach on errors and then a couple of nice RBI hits from 4 and 5.
And he may get help from another error. Oppenheimer bobbles, throws to first. Here's the 0-1. Hit hard and grab. That's why they call it the hot corner. Corey Boston trying to extend a 3-0 lead. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Pinales. Here's the payoff pitch from the lefty. Grounded down the first base line. Fair ball. It gets under the glove of Fowler. That's going to score 1. It rolls all the way to the corner. Pinales has it there up to second as Dan.
Because you can only see so much in scrimmaging against your own pitchers.
1-1 ground ball to second. Murphy has it. Flips to first. It's a bit high. Took Fowler off the bag, but he comes back. Here's the 1. Nope. And they caught him. McCormick to second. And he's out. The beat Gottesman, who's on for his third inning, has just 23 pitches. And he allows his first hit. He had gotten 3 groundouts to the shortstop, and that one just gets by.
Nice job here against Gottesman.
That is lined into center field. Coming in, laying out, cannot make the catch. It's off the glove of Rogers.
Second and third with 2 outs is nowhere near as good as with 1 out.
Ground ball too short. Hughie to second for 1 on to first in time. Double play.
Oh, it's funny. The conversation on Wednesday and all weekend was about how good this Beacons offense could be.
This one is popped third base side. Riley up the wall. Oh, we almost had that. Like that.
Well, potentially. I don't want to jinx anything, but I also don't want to say this game is over.
Come on, you guys were discussing which pitcher could get the win in between innings. This is chopped to third. Could go a long way towards ending it to second. 2 on to first. Double play. Welcome back to Monin Park. UMass Boston picks up the 4-1 win to improve to 2-0 on the season. The scoring started early on in the first. Beacons got 3 across, 2 errors, put 2 men on, and Chris Fowler drove a couple home. Nick Herzog knocked him in. We were 3-0 through the first couple of innings. Then Brandeis got one back in the fourth. Back-to-back single and double. Isaac Fossis, Dan Fry. Fry picked up the RBI. That made it 3-1 through 3.5. The Beacons would get one back in the bottom of the 5th. After Chris Fowler was hit by a pitch, Nick Herzog singled. Ryan McCormick drove Fowler in. That made it 4-1, and that would be it. No runs in the final 4 innings of this one. Gottesman picks up the win in relief. He was excellent. 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 strikeout. The loss goes to Sean O'Neill, who through 3 innings allowed 3 runs. None of them were earned, so he picks up the loss without an earned run. 5 hits, did strike out 5. Bobby Tramandosi picks up the save for his final inning of work. So what's ahead for UMass Boston? They will be home again tomorrow. Same start time, 3 o'clock against the Engineers of MIT, La Crosse City rivalry. And then the Beacons head to Florida for 7 games in 7 days. They'll kick that off against the St. John Fisher Cardinals. A couple people we want to thank here before we head out. Seth Orensky for putting this all together and sitting beside me for this one. Gigi Bruggen, Alyssa Fugel pressing all the buttons. By the way, Gigi did not know who wrote Just a Friend. She guessed Bob Marley while it was playing over the PA, and you need to do some serious research, girl, because that's unacceptable. Seth, again, wore a bunch of hats. Bree Colucci, Cassie Murphy, Issa Breen, and Mike Mulligan. They were the real superstars. They were out there braving the cold and the wind. Can't thank them enough. And, of course, everybody at the UMass Boston Sports Information Department, Athletic Department, for putting all the right names and numbers in front of us. Final score one more time for Monon Park. UMass Boston 4, Brandeis Judges 1. My name's Alex Barth. This has been a presentation of the Beacon Broadcast Network. We will see you tomorrow for the Beacons and the Engineers. Until then, have a good evening.